making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We have controlled transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our East co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom, back east, handling all the producing duties, Danny Otto, and of course our special co-host for the day, four-time World MMA Awards Trainer of the Year. He's an author, he's a father, he's a husband, he's a life coach, he's everything. Mike Dolce.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's up?
Good, man. Good to see everybody. Good to be back.
Been?
I've been good. Life is good. Raising babies. You know, that's the main focus right now, but still crushing it in the health and fitness sphere.
What are their ages?
3 and 1.
3 and 1, okay.
So still, one is out of diapers now, the oldest, except for like the overnight a little bit, and the other one is we're trying to get her out here pretty soon. So it's that focus for everybody who's got the kids at home. You understand what the time commitment is.
Nice.
What's the boy, girl?
2 girls.
2 girls.
I have a home full of daughters. So 2 daughters plus my wife plus an American Pit Bull female rescue plus a Maine Coon cat that was another rescue, all females. So it's like, what is it, 2, 4, 5 versus 1.
So when people ask you, what would you like them to be when they grow up? Because I'm sure that at some point somebody goes, would you like them to be a mixed martial artist? All that stuff. Do you ever get that?
Yeah, they're like, it's as if they want you to raise the next Ronda Rousey or Chris Cyborg, something like that. And I'm really looking to raise the next Elon Musk, or Steve Jobs type of innovation. That's what we're trying to instill, whether it's art, whether it's science, whether it's athletics, whether they're the best barista on the planet or they find a cure for cancer. It's just giving them all the opportunity and positive encouragement to blossom in that way. So what they turn out to be is completely up to them. It's my job as a parent to allow it.
I like it. All right. So, guys, the big news last night, right? ESPN will now carry UFC, not just digitally, as it was announced on May 8th. 15 events on ESPN Plus and a bunch of other goodies. $4.99 a month.
How much?
Now they get television as well. So there is no ESPN and NBC. There is no Fox and NBC, and there will be no more Fox. It will now be ESPN digitally and on ESPN on their channels, on their network of channels that they have. 15 events both digitally and 15 events on TV for a total of 30 events per year for 5 years, $300 million per year. They got 150 million, for the digital and 150 million for television. So again, it's a $1.5 billion deal.
Wow.
For over 5 years, and I know a lot of you had to read it over again, and so did I. It's not 300 for TV plus the 150. It's a total of 300. It's not the 450 that there was a rumor that the UFC was asking for, but it's also triple, I believe, the original deal, which was 7 years, 700 million with Fox.
Okay.
I have a million questions.
Wait.
How about you?
Yeah, so per year it's triple, but it's almost it's more than double, because one was a 7-year deal, this one's a 5-year deal. And start.
All right.
But that's the deal. Well, react to that though. What do you think? Just ESPN. Did you ever think you would see that? And
I don't like it because for me, on Fox, it seemed like the UFC had a big presence. They had a lot of support behind it. MMA on ESPN feels like small fish, big pond. Even if you go to the front page of ESPN, which I will actually do right now, if you even want to get to some of these other sports, all you got here is NFL, NBA, MLB, what is this, college football, soccer, NHL. I mean, look at all these that are just kind of hidden. MMA, NCAA basketball, I mean, NASCAR, they're huge. And they're not even right there for you to choose from. So I feel like they may just kind of get caught up in all them other big sports. I don't know how they're going to do it.
To be fair, we'd have to get to 2019 and see if they're still there.
Right, but college basketball is huge. It's been around forever, and it's not there, right? So
true.
What I need to, and if you see the way they've covered boxing over the years, it's kind of like, I mean, they throw it a bone, it seems like, and I don't want them to fall under that same category here with ESPN. The other thing is,
but the money is
I don't get any of it.
Pretty impressive.
Do you?
No, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about it.
No, I know, but as a fan, like, I don't get any of that money. I want to make sure that I like the way how Fox is covered. I mean, if you look at their programming, UFC's on practically all day, right? There's shows, like, are these shows going to continue? The MMA Tonight, all that type of stuff. Is it going to have a different name? Who's going to be hosting it? Can those people come over? Does Fox still keep the old libraries? Are they allowed to show, like, old stuff? Or do they completely sell off the whole library? Like, what's going to happen there? Does that mean Bisping, Karen Bryant, all those people there now out of a job?
I don't think Fox has ever owned those type of rights. The UFC's been pretty good about keeping everything. Everything winds up on Fight Pass.
Is Stephen A. Smith going to be up there now and commenting on a sport that he has nothing to do with, has no idea what's going on?
Good question about Karen and everybody else. I don't know what's going to happen there because they work for Fox.
Yeah.
And ESPN's got their people. Like you mentioned.
Because they can still cover
Ariel
the UFC.
Helwani just got hired by them. And he will be moving over and doing his content, not the MMA Hour per se, but a version of it on ESPN. The MMA Hour stays with MMA Fighting. And then him and Chael Sonnen will be doing Ariel and the Bad Guy, which is a 30-minute show. I don't know if that's their version of UFC Tonight, but yes, okay. Lots of questions that remain, and we don't know.
As a fan, though, because as a fan, I'm looking at it and saying that's great.
You don't like the move to ESPN,
but I don't get any money out of it. So are you just going to give me the same thing that I had? With
you
Fox?
never got the Fox money though either. I don't
No.
You didn't get that
because you were saying it's a big deal, it's a lot of money, but I don't get any of that money. So as a fan, I'm just wondering: are you going to take it up a notch in what Fox did, or are you just going to do what Fox did?
Well,
or is it
I think what
lesser?
happens is, I'm sure they'll try to take it up more than what Fox did. I don't know if they'll have the presence, like you said. You made good points there about just their website alone and so many things they got going on. But ESPN is bigger than Fox when it comes to sports coverage. Fox Sports 1 started with, I believe, simultaneously with their coverage of the UFC. But ESPN's, available. They can promote it better. They're available on many more platforms. So we'll see. We have to give them their due, give them a year or two to see how they've done. But will they take it up a notch? I don't know. What happens is just as you get further along, the money just gets better. So in other words, the quarterbacks that play today, were they that much better than the ones that won 4 Super Bowls? Yeah, they play a little bit better, but just the economics of it all improves.
Okay, and then here's the other thing, and maybe you can attest to this a little bit. There's a little part of me that is just a bitter asshole.
Oh, wait, stop right there. Hold on a second.
You already knew that, huh?
a little part.
How about you? What do you think of the UFC going to ESPN? Then we'll kind of come back around the horn and you guys can give more commentary.
Look at it 3 ways. The first way is from a business perspective from UFC. Monetization, right? They're trying to make money. They're trying to increase margin. They're trying to stay in the black or get as deep into the black as they can. That's one look at it. The second look is distribution. Are they looking for a wider distribution platform? And if so, part 3, what does that mean to us as fans? Do I have to buy an additional add-on just to see the UFC? Do I have to spend more money every month to watch what I've gotten accustomed to watching on Fox? Look at it from 3 different ways, 3 different impacts. And then, of course, fourth is what does that mean to the athletes? Do the athletes have have even larger, deeper contracts now and hoops that they have to jump through just to perform? Is there some sort of rev share with the athletes? I haven't heard of that. I know that's a part of the conversation. Probably not, but that's still a consideration. So, big deal. And then ESPN, what's their motive? Are they looking to buy the UFC so they can control it and they can hide it away from some of their other high-margin sports that maybe they want to promote, like Goz says? Or do they see the emergence of mixed martial arts, want to get the UFC so they can really turn up the gas and explode it through the ESPN network, which is the largest sports network in the world? I see it from a bunch of different ways, probably the next 2 weeks, 2 months, and then really 2 years, like the Reebok deal and even the original Fox deal. That's going to continue to grow because Fox, they started on Fuel TV or so in the very beginning, and then now they're on Big Fox, really with a much greater presence. Maybe, hopefully, ESPN does that. Hopefully, some of the money and the exposure gets spread to the athletes, and hopefully it's brought to me as a consumer cheaper so I can go out there and start consuming other products also.
By the way, I did hear one thing, and then we'll get to Dan's opinion. Contracts are now becoming shorter. Okay. 6-fight and 8-fight.
Yep.
The UFC, I think their strategy is to go to 4-fight contracts so people can fight out their contracts and want to renegotiate, because a lot of fighters are just sitting, they're shelving themselves.
Sure.
No, I don't like that fight. No, I'll wait till this event. And they need those stars to perform. You know what I mean? So I think that's their way to incentivize. Will the pay get better? It's always gotten better. Is it going to get better to what we're used to? Like, hey, Brady makes $30 million a year. How come so and so? No, I that's years away if it ever happens.
Yeah.
Dan, what'd you think when you read that the UFC will be in bed with ESPN across all platforms for the next 5 years? Digital television, $300 million per year, total of $1.5 billion over 5 years.
I second off of Dolce's comment there as far as the broad spectrum, where what I told myself to calm myself with all the news coming in is that, realistically, it's going to take a couple years to settle in. There's going to be a point where, a couple years in, you're going to look back and go, oh, wow, yeah, I remember it was just kind of bare bone-ish here. And we've seen that progression, right? Whether we're talking about TV seasons, sports products, this is kind of the same progression. But, Dan, Tom, the thing I'm looking forward most is the details as far as numbers per shows. And we're looking at 42. 42?
So, well, actually, it's 15 on digital.
That's right, yeah.
15 on TV.
Right, 42,
and we always say there's 12 pay-per-views. I believe if you look back the last 5 years, there's 13. Like, they double up in December, or one of those months will actually grab 2 of them.
Yeah.
So it appears it's 13. Let's go with 12, 1 per month.
Yeah.
42. Okay. Maybe it could be 43. Maybe it could be 41. I don't know. But 42 sounds about right. And if you do want to include Dana White Contender Series, which is about a 4 to 5 fight card, and it looks like they'll be consistent with that, then yeah, that's something different. But sticking to arena type shows, it sounds like 42 to me.
Yeah, and then you don't know what they're going to do with Fight Pass for as long as they keep it, and as long as they have it, they might roll out some exclusives to hit some markets while they still can, because that's kind of their option. That's kind of the nice thing. They don't have to go with the FS1 broadcasting times. I don't see why they don't exercise it, even if Fight Pass, let's say, only has a year for whatever reason. Exercise that aspect of it. So yeah, I mean, 42 plus shows. That's a bit, as far as what speaks to the other issues we've talked about, as far as saturation of the cars, people complaining, oh, this car's not strong enough, or we're seeing a decline in the numbers. So I mean, still remains to be seen what it's going to do there. But as far as ESPN versus Fox, I'm not the biggest sports guy, but ESPN's always been a really great, a flag waver as far as, that's the place to be. And I think that we're seeing the dots connected now as far as where they're investing. That's the important part. We know they have the tools, but are they going to invest in it? We've seen them pick up media guys, and they're starting to fortify their positions. They're getting themselves in the digital market. So as for right now, it looks like they're interested, and that's all you can really ask. You want them to be interested and invested.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Goz, let's go back to bitter asshole Goz.
I'm a bitter asshole because I've been watching the sport since day one.
Yeah.
But I've been covering it for 11 years. And in those years, and Dolce, maybe you can attest to this, how many times have we heard that company shit on mixed martial arts? I've been to events where I've sat down, and you always shake the hand of the guy next to you. And I've shook a hand before. And
no, I know where that hand's been.
my name is Tom. I'm with ESPN. I don't even know what I'm doing here, man. This is like carnage, but my boss sent me here. They didn't believe in this sport early on.
What was Tom's last name?
I don't know.
Tom just lost his job.
But anyways, that was the attitude you got from that company for a very long time. It wasn't until maybe, 7 years ago that they actually started to show highlights and stuff like that. And even at that, it was kind of sparse. And for them to kind of come around now, I don't know, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
I understand that.
And that's why I'm a bitter asshole.
So you're a fan.
And you're right. Now we're moving everything over from Fox, and it seemed like they had a pretty good thing going with Fox. Dolce pointed out ESPN is the #1. I think even Fox would acknowledge that. I mean, they've been around for so long, and
Fox has the global, or ESPN has the global also.
Exactly. I think we have to wait a year or two to give them their first grade to see how they're doing. On paper, it's more money, it's more exposure. I think it can draw in more casuals.
Yeah.
As Fox continues to grow, you know, and people get familiar what FS1 means. If you tell somebody on the street, "Oh, it's on FS1," they may go, "What's that one again?" You know, it's 7 years in, but people are creatures of habit. I mean, ask Bellator about Spike to Paramount now. You know what I mean? That's going to be a little bit of a setback, and probably already is a little bit of a setback for them. But anyway, so those grades will come in. The money impressed me a little bit. I wasn't sure. I don't know that TV stuff, you know, if 400 was feasible or not. If they felt like it and they threw the number out there, then it sounded like those TV guys, which is Ari Emanuel and Patrick Whitesell, the majority owners of WME IMG, which is now Endeavor.
And they're smart guys.
UFC. They had to have had a feeling, so they came up a little short there. They'll never tell you that. They'll probably say that we got what we wanted and more. But it didn't sound like it was much more than Fox. And the UFC, Dana White particularly, is about loyalty. And so I wonder if they just could have pulled, I think the offer was $250 from Fox, if they could have just pulled the other $50 million and stayed with Fox. Or is ESPN just, you know, are they showing you some sort of a PowerPoint presentation that just blows you away and says, wow, even if Fox matches them, we're in better hands with ESPN. We don't know that, I guess. So all we can do is react to what we hear, what we read. Variety, credit to them. It seemed like they broke the story late last night, and here we are.
Yeah.
Roy Nelson is, by the way, officially not fighting at Bellator 200. They tried to get him an opponent, Mirko Krokop, a variety of knee injuries to his one knee. Torn ACL and partially torn LCL. I mean,
what the hell is he doing?
I don't know.
Jesus.
I don't know, but he hopes to fight later this year. He's on some wicked timeline, unlike others that kind of sit out for 9 months when you hear the ACL. And he says he wants to come back later this year. So
it makes you question the severity of the injury if he's already planning an early comeback, because there's pretty set times when it comes to PT post surgery.
Right.
So if he's talking anything less than 9 months at his age, that's insane. You know, so very expedited schedule. I wouldn't assume the injury is as bad, maybe as being reported. Not bad enough to pull him off the card, most likely. I mean, any sort of minor injury against a guy like Roy Nelson can get you hurt bad, right? So you probably do step away legitimately.
They couldn't find him an opponent, and that fight meant something in that the winner was going to be the alternate for the semifinals of Bellator as they progressed through the Grand Prix. But it doesn't mean you can't just grab Roy and put him on a card in June or July and go, well, now you're that guy, you know, and see what happens. I don't know if Roy gets paid. He's already out in London. I don't know how that works. I'm not too familiar with with it. I would say that if this was a UFC event, they'd probably pay him.
Yeah, I want to talk about that with you guys if we got the time. Is the athlete getting paid if they do their job regardless of what happens to the opponent? There should be a line in the sand, or even possibly a tiered system. This is just my opinion, right? You sign for the fight, you get 25% of your purse. You know, 4 weeks out from your fight, you get 50% of your show money. Just one thought, one possibility.
You got to pay the guys that you brought in for your camp, or
there's expenses that are happening in real time, and it gets it, or even you get paid quarterly. And there's different ways, different formats to look at it. But an athlete going through training camp, they get their fight week. And this is for the athletes that have missed weight. They get their fight week. They cut their weight. They stand on the scale. They weigh in. And their athlete gets pulled from the card. And then they're lucky if they get a percentage of their purse. They kind of have to beg for it. Some actually have gotten their full show money. And a very rare few occasions have athletes gotten the show and the win money. But if the athlete shows up, maybe if they get on the plane, they're guaranteed their show money as long as they weigh in and continue on if something happens to the opponent.
That's what I think.
Should be.
There should be tiers, you know, because Roy, I don't think, I mean, I know we joked that he's a heavy dude, but I think he's just like, he's 260 guy. I don't think he's 270 and cuts to 260, whatever. He's a heavyweight, and most heavyweights don't have to go through that cutting the weight process, but there should be tiers. Hey, I got on the plane, I'm here, I've already started to do press, 10%, 15%, 25%, I don't know. Hey, I weighed in, now we're up to 75%, you know. I not only weighed in here, I'm fighting, and the other guy had anxiety on the day of. Oh, hey, that full purse. I don't know. They should.
The other guy breached his contract, and that's what it comes down to.
We got
right?
injured.
Well, yeah, okay, alters the contract, but it should be stipulated at least in the event of in the contract.
Should be something there. I don't know.
It's like for the working man, working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as hard as you can, and then on Friday the business is closed, so you don't get paid for all the work that you did that week. That's the feel, and it's not fair to the athletes.
Scott's a reasonable guy, Scott Coker. Maybe you just sit down with him and go, come on, man, help me out here. What is your policy? And then wait for his reaction.
Yeah.
And then after that, you go, well, this is what I think, and figure it out.
It should be contractual.
In the UFC, a lot of times you have your show and then your fight. Not everybody, but the majority have that. Yep. And most of the time they get at least their show or something, right? Yeah. But in Bellator, if you look at the prices what they've been paying guys, 150. I think we saw that for Bader, for Mo.
Oh, you're right.
I wonder if they, in those contracts, they maybe said, we're just going to give you this money,
but it should happen.
I don't want to hear anything. Right. Yeah, if shit happens, that sort of thing. And I wonder
maybe they do pay pretty well for a lot of those guys. I don't know, man. It doesn't hurt to ask.
But he's right.
It doesn't hurt to ask. What if he writes you a check for $10,000 that you probably weren't going to get? At least you got the 10.
What if it cost you $12,000?
Flying over there, bring your
expenses,
family.
And then missed opportunity for not taking other opportunity. Maybe some of these guys, they're artists, they're craftsmen, they have other trades and skills, or they're teaching at their gym, seminars and privates.
Yeah. Let's take some calls. They're blowing up here. Steve from Saskatoon. New caller. What's up, Steve?
Hey, boys. I enjoyed your hockey talk you had going on yesterday.
Any thoughts on it?
Well, no, I was just curious. With this UFC to ESPN and the WWE to Fox, is this going to maybe raise the price tag for when the NHL contract comes up?
When does it come up?
You all the hockey experts. I thought you all would know.
Mic drop.
I'm not. This ain't the NHL show, but well, you know what? Okay, one thing I was told by a TV executive I know was a lot of the major sports networks like NBA, NFL, they had just signed long-term contracts with different networks, and because of that, the UFC kind of fell. I think you had to go to like 2022 or 2024 before the next major contract was going to come up. All right. Now I don't know if NHL was included in that or not. I don't know, but he was telling me, the UFC might actually fall in a little bit of a pocket where some of these networks that are looking to spend some money and bring live television, live sporting events, because that is what's selling.
Yeah.
They may actually write an extra zero, and the UFC might be lucky around the time their contract comes up. That was a conversation from 2 years ago.
Huh.
Here we are now. They doubled or they tripled per year what they're going to get. So it sounds to me like it was a win. As far as the NHL, it's interesting because, look, they pulled Vegas Golden Knights pulled me in. They pulled the whole city in. I know that I was listening to Busted Open, a show that's on our network, Sirius XM Rush 93, and they were even talking about it a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know if the Vegas Golden Knights have helped with a little bit of an upkick, in popularity for the sport or not. I had always heard that hockey and baseball was dwindling in terms of the median age of the fan, as well as golf. NASCAR had also taken a hit, and but I don't know, that we really would have to bring in an NHL expert for that. I'm giving you as much as we can, Steve. Thank you for the call. Great to hear from you. Let's go to Silverback and Stitch Duran. Stitch Duran calling in.
What?
What's happening? What's up?
How you guys doing?
Hey, man, I tell you, it's been a crazy experience here, George, Gold, and Dan. I've been on a wild run that did that film for Greece for 5 weeks. Went home for 3 days, went to Athens, Greece. From there, went back to Philly to film 1 day, and then Jim, within 24 hours, got me booked to come to Fort Bragg for the All-American Memorial Week. And it's been a tremendous thing just to come over here and be part of this and support the troops.
Were you like a featured guest, or did you have to actually work? Because I know they had some combative MMA fights out there, right?
Well, actually, those happened at 3:30 today. So in a couple, 2-3 hours, we'll be up there. We went and saw some of the semifinals last night. So that's kind of like the icing of the cake for what I do. But yeah, guys didn't know I was coming. I didn't know I was coming till Silverback put things together. So we got to thank him.
Very cool. Yeah, when do you get back to Vegas, Stitch?
I leave tomorrow morning. And it was cool, George and Coles, because the sergeant major that was with Major Dunphy when we were in Afghanistan approached me and said hi. So it's a small world.
Wow.
It is a small world, yeah. Very cool. If you see Lieutenant Colonel Joe Buccino, hopefully I'm not butchering his name, tell him we said hello. We had him on our show last week. And, you were in studio that day, and he seemed like a really nice guy. We've been talking about possibly going out there sometime. It'd be nice. I'm glad you're having a good experience, and kudos to Big Jim for making that happen.
Yeah, Big Jim, you got to make sure Stitch gets some sleep, man. That was a brutal schedule he just went over.
I already did. I had 8 hours last night. Today's the first time I've gotten 8 hours, man. I've been sleeping like 2 or 3 hours a day, Dan.
All right, and make sure you guys get 2 queen beds for tonight too.
Yeah,
you'll get even more sleep.
Don't let Silverback pull that same trick he pulled on me.
I understand you guys are hockey experts now, huh?
Apparently, yeah. Hey, Stitch, did you get swept up by Vegas Golden Knights fever here in town?
Well, I've been following a little bit more. I've never known anything about hockey, but how can you not? Some of the best uniforms out there, and for these guys to be doing what they have accomplished in their first year, you have to follow them.
That's true. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, you guys have a great time out there. Say hello to those people we chatted with, and call in tomorrow. Let us know how it went.
Well, hey, you guys. The only other thing I'll say is, that thing about bringing you guys out is already in the works, so we got to talk about that later on.
Oh, very cool. All right. Awesome, man. We'd love to go out there. Thanks, Big Jim. And Stitch, take care, my man.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right. We'll see you. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll go through more of a run of calls here. We have a lot of people here on deck. A couple lines just cleared up. It's 866-522-2846 if you want to call in. Shout out to Mike Gonzalez in Murrieta, California, listening to the show. Says he's a big fan of Dolce. He says, I love it when that guy's in there.
Right on, man. Well, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, he goes by the nickname Woody.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. What are you wearing right now, Woody?
No, it was a reference towards Woody Woodpecker.
Okay. Still not helping.
Not down below, huh?
What? I don't think it was.
Yeah, it was, because our dad gave him that nickname.
I know, but he told me a different story.
Oh, we was trying to change it around.
Remember Sanford and Son? Remember Woody used to drink a lot?
Yeah.
So he said that it reminded him, because I guess he found Mike drunk a few times. He's like Woody from Sanford and Son. He's always got boozing it up.
Really?
Mike just hung up, by the way.
Dumb Woody. Hold on a second.
He doesn't fucking look like Woody Woodpecker.
No, but listen. Woody's mom used to take us to school. All right. So his family would take us to school. Our family would bring us back. Dad sometimes picked us up. Woody would sometimes be cackling in the back. So he called him Woody since he was little, because I remember Woody even said, man, I hate it when Mr. G calls me that. He would say that to other people. He didn't like it, right? But he said Dad used to think he would just kind of cackle like Woody Woodpecker.
Oh, he told me the whole thing about Sanford and
So the whole drinking thing, I mean, unless Woody was boozing it up at age 10 or ever since we started getting picked up at Immaculate Heart of Mary from the mean streets of Santa Ana, California, then I just don't identify with that story. We'll be right back, folks.
Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break.
Blah, blah, blah. Here are those two dummies, George and Goes.
All right, we're back. We're going to get to some calls here. Such an old school trick, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to Gage in Fort Myers, Florida. What's up, Gage? How you doing?
Doing great. How about you guys?
Good.
I just want to bring something up from about 2 weeks ago, if you guys don't mind, about the Nunes and Pennington pay-per-view.
All right.
I heard thoughts. I heard rumors that they only sold about 84,000 pay-per-views, which is really, really, really bad. But do you guys think that's a problem with the way they advertise this, or maybe it's Amanda Nunes in general? Or do you guys know maybe what caused that and what they could do to fix it?
Look at UFC 225 and 226 and then match them up with that. It's kind of just your answer, right? It's just
That's one good way of putting it. I also believe that the card, so star power. I think Gage is onto something. Amanda hasn't traditionally sold well. I believe her and Valentina sold 115. And it, she's actually a pretty exciting fighter if you think about it. Like when she wins, she lights you up.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the whole, lesbian thing or woman thing or whatever, but she's just not selling. All right. I don't know why it is. The rest of the card, what was the co-main event? I already forgot. Vitor and Deodo. That's star power. But how far are we getting away from even hardcore fans going, all right, they are star, they are hard, they are legit fighters, much respect, they'll be Hall of Famers, but do I want to spend $64.99 or do I wait for this other one? Because now we're in the era of Netflix wants $8.99, WWE wants $8.99. You already pay your Fight Pass, your Amazon Prime. I mean, it just seems like everyone's like tugging away at you. Maybe some people. What the fuck? That hurt. Maybe some people. That was a bottle of water here that just hit my toe.
Oh, it was like a snake or something.
No. Nah, man, it's seeping through my shoe, and now it's in my sock.
Oh, it was open?
It was open.
Son of
I got a wet foot. All right. So, we're also coming off tax season, too. Maybe some people got a dose of reality. Like, okay, hey, you got to cut back on this. Or whatever. I don't know. It's probably a combination, maybe the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. Who knows, man? But for whatever reason, I think consumers are now starting to pick their spots. Even the hardcores. But I always used to say there's about 200,000 hardcores that buy them all. And that's why you never used to see the UFC dip below 200. Below 200 meant the card was awful or it went up against something. But for the most part, it seems like this number is pretty glaring, and I don't know why. The card. I mean, the card just it wasn't that sexy. It turned out that there was a great night of fights, but on paper, you got to sell someone on paper and go, you want this? And then we go, nope. Well, yeah, if you come back on Monday and go, dude, it was legit, you missed it. Well, all right, what are you gonna do? You can feel bad about it, but next week there's another free card coming up. There's been 2 back-to-back free cards. There's Chile and now Liverpool. You don't feel that bad about it, right? Because it's not like you sit there and dwell and go, wow, I missed UFC 2. I got to wait till UFC 3. That's 4 months away. It's not like that. There's so much MMA that's just getting shoved down your throats that I think you're okay with missing it.
It's a soap opera. They have to leave you with something going forward, right? We don't know what's going to happen with Amanda. Maybe if they said, if Amanda wins this fight, she gets Cyborg, maybe that might be enough to make me go, oh, now I have to watch. Lyoto and Vitor, nothing's going to come out of that
doesn't seem to be high stakes.
So for me, I feel like I'm not missing out.
And Raquel and Amanda, okay, so Amanda's exciting, but she's really a nice gal. Like, you're right, they were so chummy, I think at least the other half of Raquel, which is Tisha Torres, her fiance, was a longtime ATT member, and so there was a friendship there. And man, at the end of the day, I think there just needs to be stakes or heat or something, a reason to buy, a reason to tune in, to cheer on the winner, and to watch the loser, stick their foot in their mouth or whatever. I have no explanation.
Yeah. My thing is, sorry.
No, go, Dan.
I was just going to say, and maybe you can weigh in on this too, because I hate to always go back to the oversaturation thing, but it's true. Even when you look at when we had superstars like Ronda, who could draw, who could bring numbers, who had the star power,
Yeah.
what were they still doing? Not just even from the early UFC when they were quote unquote taking a chance. Even when they were a little more firm in the Ronda business, they were still always stacking those cards really nicely. They always gave her a nice supporting cast. Not that she needed it. Again, not to pick on. Because I don't think it has to. I mean, I'm sure we could nitpick, and there are people with opinions as far as, for whatever reason, female fights just don't do it for me. But I honestly don't think it's that. And I'm not trying to, take a media standpoint or this or that or a white knight standpoint or anything. I honestly don't think it's that because I think the numbers are across the board from shows, pay-per-views, weigh-in numbers, Fox Sports 1 numbers. All these numbers are down. Even I remember I was such a hardcore I couldn't miss a weigh-in. I had to see the stare downs. Maybe it's because of the early weigh-ins or whatnot or this or that. And we're having to see 2 weigh-ins. It's just kind of overloading our senses. And I think it's more of a saturation issue. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. How much you willing to pay?
Yeah.
For how many things?
Did you order a Gage?
To be, no, I did not.
And I did it at the last minute. I was just sitting there going, what do I do, And I said, all right, I'm going to pull the trigger. Maybe I'll make it back with my parlays, which I didn't.
Oh, sure.
But I just, what was the co-main?
For which one?
It was Amanda and Raquel. And what was the co-main that night?
Jacare and Kelvin, right?
Jacare and Kelvin. That's I got it more for that one, I think. That was my main event.
That was the fight on the card.
It was a cool fight, and Lyoto. But yeah, as it trickled down, sometimes I just think there's people that want to push back to the UFC every once in a while too.
Yeah.
Like they actually have the money, but they're like, nah, you didn't come through. I'm a consumer, and you need to come through for me because I've been doing this for years now.
Yeah.
And I see what you're doing with Chicago, and I see what you're doing with Las Vegas, and even LA is starting to look pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think there's some people that have the money, but they're like, no, I'm just gonna sit this one out. I have to send a message to you as a fan. I hear that from people that have means, so.
It'd be interesting because everything has an inherent value. A card like that is a good car.
Yeah.
Or it's a good card, kind of like a good car, like a good solid American-made car, but it's not exactly a BMW. It's not exactly a Mercedes. And there maybe should be a higher price point for some pay-per-views. Some pay-per-views, I'd pay $79.99, $99.99 for some pay-per-views. Other pay-per-views, maybe $19 to $39.99. That card I probably would have bought for the $30 or so, $60 or so. I'll go through the play-by-play. If it's an awesome card, then I'll go back and I'll buy it a little bit later. Kind of preview it a little bit.
Let me give you an example of a dilemma I was having. I was considering going to Chicago for UFC 225.
Yep.
So I was looking, and some of the junkies are taking in a Cubs game. So I thought, well, that sounds like fun. I've never been there. I'm not a fan of that team. But I think as a sports fan, you've always just wanted to go to certain ballparks, see what they're like. And if you're going to go to Wrigley, you want to go in the back with the bleacher bums, right?
You have to.
Okay. So as I'm putting together this trip, and I finally get the info where the fighter hotel is, I'm like, oh, that one's going to sting. That, it's like $300 a night, but I got a good flight. And I'm figuring this out. GG's got a limited budget, right? But I went in there to go, who do the Cubs play? Pirates? All right, cool. And I'm thinking it's like Angel Stadium fucking 2003 where you could just go sit in. What was that ticket goes? $12, $7?
Yeah, $9.
Well, you sat way in the back in the outfield, and I thought, okay, well, hell no. It's close to $100. And if I go with Juliet, that's $200 plus that little fee that StubHub and Ticketmaster. I was looking at $225. I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And so now you start to reconsider a few things. Do I need the hotel if I want to go to the Cubs game? You know what I mean? And after a while, sometimes you just close that laptop and go live the fight another day.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens with people with these fight cards. At times, they're like, that is historic. If I make it there someday, okay, but this obviously wasn't the trip.
Would you sit in the apartment complexes across?
Ooh, nice.
Have you ever seen that?
You know someone there?
I know a guy who knows how to get those tickets.
Really?
Yeah, but
I think you got to enter the stadium.
Cool.
Saturday, but I just can't do it, man. I can't do it and stay in the fighter hotel. I cannot stay in the fighter hotel and stay about 30 minutes away.
Yep.
And I can probably save like $200 a night. Yeah. So I start to think, is that other pleasure worth me just not being there? But when I go there, it's a lot of networking. It's a lot of seeing people and maybe even grabbing some content for the site. I don't know, but I
Uber there.
Huh?
Just Uber there.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We got the thing with Uncle Juan that got thrown at us, his 90th birthday, and
nice.
It was a setback in terms of, not that I don't want to go there, but in terms of the days I was thinking of going, and too much, man. At some point I close the laptop and just say maybe it just wasn't meant for me. But
I have often said this: whatever the trials and tribulations are that go with that, you're gonna forget about that 6 years from now, but you won't forget being at the event and going to Chicago.
I know, because the problem is, I've said that many times, and if I had just chosen a few of those to sit them out, I'd have a way bigger bank account. So I've done that many times. I really have. You subscribe to it too often, though, and you start to go like, what's left here? You know, like you have to just tighten things up. I think that's why when people get older, they're like, yeah, you got the senior discount. You know what I mean? Because it's the world's caving in, and you don't have any more years to produce income. Yeah.
Or the energy.
This guy's call's dragged on.
I already hung up on him. Thanks, Gage, for the call.
It's a case.
Let's go to Dan in Oregon. What's up, Dan? How you doing?
What up, guys? Man, in your opinion, is it better to have 85,000 people watching you on pay-per-view? Because I did the math, and my numbers are based on 60 best pay-per-view, and 60% goes to the UFC, 30% to the broadcaster. It's only $3 million for them. They can make that type of money getting 1 million views on FS1, and then maybe your star grows a little bit. We're talking less than 100,000.
They didn't know that it was only going to sell 85,000. I bet you right now they'd probably go, yeah, you're probably right. But what about the ones that sell 800,000, for example? 800, and by the way, that 60-40, I think the UFC's negotiated with the pay-per-view provider something closer to 70-30. So now picture 80 million times 65. Does anybody want to do the quick math? I think I can do it.
I've just come to the realization that all these things that we think of, I don't think the UFC ever goes, hey, wait a minute, we never thought of that. I mean, they fucking go through everything.
If they sold 500, if they sold 800,000 pay-per-views, they would make 52 million. From that 52 million, they.
Nice.
Oh, for the Nunes fight. Well, that's what I'm saying. When they were building 225, they didn't know who the headliner was going to be. They didn't know who else was going to be in support. They didn't know it was going to sell 85. Plus, the UFC only has to sell 150, and they profit. Trust me. So,
the Nunes pay-per-view is junk. It's right after Cinco de Mayo. They thought Triple G was fighting Canelo, so this pay-per-view was never one of their strong ones. It's going up against all of the playoffs that are going on. The next two are the ones that they're putting time and effort into. You can just see it right.
Dan, but they know this. Come Monday, they're sitting around. They're not saying, let's repeat UFC 224, everybody, and then raising a glass of champagne. They're somebody's getting yelled at, and they're probably just saying, we never need to do that again. You know what I mean? And trust me, I think Amanda Nunes will now be a co-headliner going forward. They know this, and you're right.
It's big picture, though. At the end of the year, it all comes into the same pot, right?
I mean, I'd have to go back and see, but I think they were trying to set up another big fight. I forget what it was for Brazil. It just couldn't happen, and little by little, athletes just holding back, some getting injured. It didn't work out. In fact, I think Colby was going to go down there with Dos Anjos. So that was going to be one. I'm not saying that was going to raise it, but because of security reasons, they pulled it and moved it to Chicago. But I think they had other plans as well, and it just
that would have raised it.
Come to fruition, man.
I want to hear what you're saying and believe you, but when you say they know this, and then they still have 12 pay-per-views on the
motherfucker, isn't the next one stacked? UFC 225 in Chicago?
Motherfucker.
Wouldn't you say that that's a pretty legit card? So right away from one card to the next, in fact, it could be that they said, hey, let's throw Bobby Green and Clay Guida in there because Brazil's not trending well. Oh, what do you know? It didn't sell well, and that's why that one's so stacked, and that's why 226 is building nicely, and that's why they're going, fucking Nate and GSP, you go to LA, and Rockhold and Gustafson, you too. I don't care if you guys are in each other's weight class. So I think they are already reacting to it, brother.
And we just spent the first half of the show talking about how much money ESPN is paying for this. Trust me, they're okay. It was just a bad night.
I don't think they like to throw a show and lose money. That's for sure.
And this was a fight in Brazil.
It was in Brazil
with the Brazilian female champion. So even if you just look at it as a strategic marketing opportunity on that soil of their hometown star, I'm sure the local media was massive. I'm sure it did great numbers there in that hotbed because Brazil is a consumer, especially things like ESPN and online and tech and mobile video and things like that. So bigger picture, like Gosa, I agree. I'm sure this very smart people over at the UFC, they look at their budget and
they don't want to replicate that. I don't think Amanda will headline anytime soon.
Or Cyborg, she would. And maybe they're just building her to be known build her star just a little bit more. She's angling for the Cyborg fight.
I bet you if they paired up Colby and Dos Anjos, I bet you Woodley and Dos Anjos may have been a plan for them in Brazil.
That would have been huge. If Colby fought in Brazil,
but sometimes look at January,
that
February,
would do
March
Conor
news,
numbers.
and I bet you that's kind of stuff they were talking about, and they couldn't pull it together. And at some point, I mean, in the past, they've actually made a pay-per-view an FS1 card. Very rarely, but I think what they do is say, all we got to do is make 100. It's either 115, or 145, or 150, and we break even, and we just move on to the next card. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you this much: when they had Conor had sold, I think it was 1,200 1.2 million pay-per-views when he beat Aldo, or maybe it was just over 1 million. Even he was conceding that Ronda was the biggest star at that point. Then remember when he was going to fight Dos Anjos and he was going to merge the two belts, and Dos Anjos got hurt, and they go, fuck, grab Nate. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, that day, they sold like 1.5 or something like that million. They weren't expecting that. Sometimes the unexpected happens. Yeah, but on this particular card, the unexpected didn't happen. Again, there was just no friction between the two, between Raquel and Amanda. Yeah. Everybody else seemed to be very cordial, even the impending possible retirement of Vitor. Yep. Nothing picked up, so people started making decisions. I got hockey going. I got NBA going. I got kids' graduations. I think this is wedding season. I think, you know what I mean? Now, Dan also brought up another point. He said, oh, man, they just got to stop with this date. No, because I remember another one. On Memorial Day, Rashad and Rampage sold over 1 million, and that wasn't even for a title. Yeah. What did it have?
That was coming off the Ultimate Fighter.
Right.
I was there with Rampage
it's
for that
right
one.
in that time where there was NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs and all that other stuff, but you give us the right card and people will pay. We got to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll take more calls. Also, we have another guest coming in the bottom of the second hour. It's Mirsad Bektic, UFC featherweight. He's got a pivotal fight. Speaking of UFC 225 in Chicago,
big card
versus Ricardo Lamas. That's going to be a great fight for those two coveted featherweights. We'll be right back.
You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Right now, through May 29th, you can listen to SiriusXM for free in the car and on the SiriusXM app and online. Just download our app or go to SiriusXM.com and listen to your favorite channels. While you're there, get a sneak peek of Howard Stern video. We got Mike Dolce here in studio with us co-hosting. Also coming up in the second hour, we'll talk to Mirsad Bektic. We're taking your reactions to the UFC and ESPN signing a deal.
Boom.
And let me sum it up for you right quick. Basically, it's $300 million for 5 years, a total of $1.5 billion.
Billion.
And they get 30 events per year, 15 on ESPN Plus, so it's like $150 million of it per year is on the digital side, and another 15 events will be broadcast across the ESPN channels, ESPN, ESPN2, and whatever else they have. I'm not sure that's actually been decided, but you'll still have pay-per-views. The UFC is in the pay-per-view business, and Dana White Contender Series will be on the digital platform, and they're talking about original content. They're talking about a show with Ariel Helwani and Chael Sonnen, and I'm sure more to come, including our good friend of the show, Brett Okamoto, works for ESPN. Maybe he'll be involved in a cool project. He's definitely earned it. So, but it's all ESPN for the next 5 years, starting in 2019. So this will be. We got about half a year left of the Fox era, and it'll be over 7 years. What do you guys think? I don't want to jump on a call yet because I want to give them their time. We'll take them in the second hour. But what do you think? What do you think of the Fox era?
I think it'll be interesting to see how Fox actually transitions away from the UFC now over the next 6 or 7 months. Will they give them a proper professional send-off, or will they just start to bury the content, even change the narrative just a little bit? So I'd be interested in seeing that. But I enjoyed the Fox era in that it gave us more access. But at the same time, it did oversaturate the market for me. Found me from going and watching every fight on every pay-per-view to reading replays about specific fights, like we spoke about recently, the Nunez Pennington fight. So from that perspective, a little oversaturation I don't think is good. But maybe for less seasoned fans of the sport, they needed that. Like we all got that going to Suncoast Video and buying VHSs of tapes, fights that happened a year or so ago on pay-per-view that we couldn't get. We're of that era, that generation. So for me, it was a little much, but I think big numbers is good for everybody, right? $1.5 billion, the largest deal ever in mixed martial arts space, so that's historic right there. And that's on top of their recent historic deal with the Fox network, or even that of Reebok. So that being said, it shows massive growth for the sport, and if the athletes are smart, if their management is smart, they can actually exploit opportunities for themselves also.
They band together.
And, well, I'm not even talking union. I'm saying they as individuals, they as the CEOs of their own business, whether they're considered an employee or an independent contractor, an LLC or an S-Corp or whatever their designation is, their mindset should be, this is a huge opportunity for me, great exposure. They're now associated with the blue chip, the largest sports network in the world. That's ESPN. They fight for the greatest mixed martial arts promotion in the world. That is the UFC. That goes without doubt. They're one of the most elite athletes on the planet. They should be They should be able to run into the world and start stealing money. Literally, money should be thrown at them if they are smart.
When we come back, we're up against the top of the hour. I will say this on the way out. You're wondering what Fox has planned? They just did a deal with WWE. Smackdown's going to Fox, and they're in the 2-point-something billion. So they gave some good money to them, and they still made an offer to the UFC, but it didn't work out.
Maybe that's why UFC left.
We'll talk about that when we come back. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. We got Mike Dolce in the house.
So. This is dancing, baby. My peripheral. Oh, God.
This one for them good girls, straight masterpieces. Styling, wildin', living it up in the city. Got Chuck's on with Saint Laurent. Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. I'm too hot. Call the police and the fireman. I'm too hot. Make a dragon wanna retire, man. I'm too hot. Say my name, you know who I am. I'm too hot. And my band about that money, break it down. Girls hit you hallelujah. Girls hit you hallelujah. Girls hit you hallelujah. Cause Uptown Punk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Punk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Punk don't give it to you. Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch.
Alright, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. We got four-time Trainer of the Year, World MMA Awards, Mike Dolce in the house with us. Speaking of the World MMA Awards, it's coming up July 3rd, and the Junkie family has been nominated in 3 different categories.
Boom.
We have Best MMA Programming, so that's MMA Junkie Radios in that group. Best Media Source, that's MMA Junkie, the website. And then we also have one of our colleagues under Best Journalist, John Morgan. So we would definitely appreciate your votes.
It's very
I always
simple,
say
George.
it is simple. You only need 2 minutes to get through it. But I always say I respect the vote. I just want people to vote. I think it's a good chance to voice your opinion. You know, and those trophies mean a lot to a lot of people that work very hard in our industry.
Oh no, I was gonna say the other part. Figuring out who you should vote for is simple. Look at it this way: you're on a desert island. You can only get your news on the entire sport of mixed martial arts. Where do you go?
Junkie.
Done. Put that vote in.
I agree.
It's a pretty clear way of deciding. I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
If all you want is UFC news, perhaps go to other websites. If all you want is Bellator, maybe visit another one. But if you want all your MMA news, go to MMA Junkie.
That's a good point. All right. Let's go to the callers yet again. It's Marco from Waco, Texas. What's up, Marco?
Marco from Waco. ¿Qué pasa, vatos? I'm Mike Dolce.
Hola.
Hey, congratulations to your Golden Knights, on the Stanley Cup. Very historic stuff.
Thank you.
Since this is there's another NHL program, I want to react to the ESPN news, man. I found out from you guys. I turned my iPad on, put you guys on YouTube, and you gave me the news, so I'm pleasantly surprised. I think it's a good thing for the sport. I assume there's going to be a lot of shoulder programming on regular TV for MMA now. The PTIs and the first takes are going to start talking to the fighters. And are they also going to carry the prelims for the freaking pay-per-views? Because if that is the case, there is a big promotional push for the pay-per-views too, having them on the ESPN platform. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I saw that. Right.
But,
I saw that 12 prelims that accounted for to go with the 12 pay-per-views.
I've often wondered about this.
Okay.
Marco, you're an MMA fan.
So I'm sorry, I missed that. What was it?
So they'll be taking the mid-prelim spot. I'm sure maybe they'll incorporate ESPN Plus maybe if Fight Pass goes away, but regardless, that middle slot, that FS1 tier portion, it's going to be from what I read that it represents along with the 12 pay-per-views, 12 prelims as well. I guess that accounts for that Fox slot that we're used to.
Okay, so the pay-per-views will be on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And the prelims will be on ESPN or ESPN Plus.
That's a good question. Yeah, I'm hoping. That's a good question. Yeah,
I doubt it would be ESPN.
Yeah,
maybe like ESPN 2 or something.
Okay.
Right? But probably Plus, I would think.
Okay.
Marco, you're an MMA fan, okay? I've often wondered about this. We have to watch it because we cover it. But have you ever had the intention of not buying a card, but the undercard is what sold you to buy the pay-per-view?
Several times, man. But then again, I'm a bad example because I'm a hardcore, so I consume the product like it's a freaking drug. Mm-hmm. So I buy everything, even with the pay-per-view. It's not even that exciting.
How much do you spend a year on UFC content, would you say, Marco?
Okay, like the $60 a pay-per-view.
Yep.
Is $720 a year plus Fight Pass.
Yep.
There is another 120.
Yep.
And I guess I get ESPN Plus.
Yeah. Have you gone to any live events in the last 3 years?
Yeah, well, the last events I went to was in 2015, and yes, I was a member of Fight Club too.
Yeah.
So I used to go to events a lot before, and not so much anymore because of the kids. One last question. With Fox and the WWE, and this is an important thing, they're airing SmackDown on Friday nights. There's a prime slot for Bellator. I think that is going to be the key success for Bellator because SmackDown is a big ratings pool and it's going to pull a lot of audience for the Bellator people. Discuss. Peace out.
Okay, we'll see you.
That's great for Bellator, if I may. And it's great for Bellator in that they can compete with the WWE, and if they win just one night, they can really spin that they've the number one sports entertainment show on TV beating the WWE. So my point on that is it brings them into that conversation. How will they fare long-term versus the WWE? Likely they'll never get those numbers, but they can drag some of that audience over to them away from the UFC. Interesting.
Yeah, Bellator also has had a few events on Saturdays.
Okay.
Not often, but they have. So I don't know if it's a slow migration over. And that's it, right, Goose?
Yeah, that's definitely it.
That's it.
Leave it at that. But isn't Friday?
Can't do it.
Is that a good night for pro wrestling? Like,
I don't know, man.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Maybe pre-gaming at your buddies' houses.
Virgins stay home, man. That's
true.
Or Friday night.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, when I was watching as a junior high school student, I guess I probably would have watched it on Friday if they would have put it on Friday as opposed to the Monday Night Raw, right?
Yeah.
Can I answer one thing you said earlier that to Dolce? And you asked him what did he like about the Fox or what did he miss, right? And one thing that someone in the YouTube chat, I think it's the Human Moron. Shout out to the Human Moron.
Yeah, let me get some quick shout outs. DJ Quest 562, Bo Mal Patriote, who's got a lot of Slavic pride and he's looking forward to the Bektic spot.
Yes.
Rolly Estrada and Knuckle Up 101. Go ahead, Dan Tom.
Nice. Human Moron said what he enjoyed was the fact that the Fox, they allowed the fighters to be analysts, and that's something that I enjoy seeing. Part of the reason why I wanted to be a part of the media, I like seeing the more martial arts and fighter presence to kind of balance it out, and I like that Fox was giving those guys opportunities on top to their career to compound it and open doors for later. I'm going to be real curious, kind of like what Ghost said. If you look back on ESPN's history, are we going to have those people talking about our sports, or are they going to continue that filtration over from media to fighters as well?
Yeah.
Fox across all platforms is big on the former athlete or current athlete presence.
Yeah.
ESPN, I can think of obviously a lot of personalities who were either former athletes or just journalists that have become experts in their fields. But I also know that they have a lot of athletes. Like, for example, I know Gilbert Melendez and Chael Sonnen have active contracts with them. But by them bringing Ariel over and having Brett, I would imagine maybe it'll be a hybrid type panel. I think that's how ESPN approaches it. It doesn't have to be all jocks.
ESPN does like to divide. I mean, if we're all going to be frank, right? They like
that's the best way, Dolce, honestly. Don't you? Or do you want to just hear...
It's controversial, and I think they push that narrative farther than some of the just as interesting stories that are maybe less toxic, if you will. So ESPN does that. It'll be interesting to see how they do that, and they will put some of the loudmouth pundits on there across from some of the hardcore respected athletes, the legends in the game. That type of dialogue will always be fun to watch, but it's not always going to be good dialogue, and I think it might dirty the sport just a little bit, like I think it has to other sports, maybe on racial issues or financial issues or other political issues, if you will. Not that those aren't legitimate, but I think that gets pushed too hard too often on ESPN. We'll see how it goes with MMA and how will MMA fare, because right now MMA coverage has been all through Fox, very fluffy. All the negative stuff gets squashed immediately. Yeah. ESPN plays that negative stuff. So be interesting to see.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right, let's take this call from Cage Side Nick in Arizona. What's up, Nick? How you doing?
Good, boss. Yourself?
Good. I'm just kidding, folks. This is Kordjeric from Arizona. He can go by Nick if he'd like. He can go by Cage Side Nick, or we can make him Kordjeric. He called in the other day. I called him Cage Side Nick. He didn't answer. I thought, well, what's wrong with this buffoon, right? And I hung up because he wasn't talking. But it turned out to be my bad. So my apologies to you, sir. And we'll figure out. If this is a call of value, we'll let you decide. If it sucks, which often happens with first-time callers, then we'll probably go with Cage Side Nick. So it's up to you, man.
I want him to
perform.
be Cage Side Nick, though.
Perform.
No pressure.
No, Cage Side Nick sounds good. It's all right. Just out here.
Taking out on the
out here in AZ.
So what's up, buddy?
So it's good. I just want to talk about, how I've been listening to y'all since about 2014. I thought, I was jamming out to Sirius Radio, and I clicked over a couple stations, and there it was, it was talking about MMA, and I've been hooked ever since then. And with all the how'd you say, with Brian Stan's show and with Michael Bisping, but with y'all, I'm big time fan to where I've been trying to call in, but I just work and everything, it don't seem to happen. But right now, since I get put in as a foreman now, I get to take as much breaks as I can to get into calls.
Good for you.
I'll keep that in mind, man. We'll have to start pulling you in quickly so you can get back out there on the job. But yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for the support. It is a great channel, not just for MMA, but combat sports in general, pro wrestling, boxing, mixed martial arts. We cover it all. And credit to Rush 93 for believing in combat sports and stacking the shows. Misha Tate's now part of the channel. AJ Hawk, former NFL Super Bowl winner. He was a linebacker out of Ohio State. He loves MMA a lot. Him and RJ Clifford, they have a show together as well.
Nice.
So, yeah, lots for you to tune in.
Hey, and Cordrick, my first call actually was I was a project manager, foreman, if you will, and I finally had enough time to break away and I could call into the show that I was listening to in my ears that was helping me get through the hours of work. So, shouts to you, man, for making your first call in the same position, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's all good getting through the day. It's just too long, and then being away from home, it really helps out. Listening to y'all. So I just want, and then plus about the ESPN deal. It's going to be cool. Now instead of hearing that Monday Night Football tune, now we get to hear some so
That's true.
It's all good.
That's a good point.
Oh, what about the ESPN commercials, guys? We talk about how cool it was when we saw Cletus, right, the robot from Fox, and he's doing MMA moves.
Derek Lewis about to own him.
The first ESPN commercial.
Get Derek Lewis in there.
Guys.
Who's going to be on it? Connor?
Lewis would be hilarious. I'm thinking the UFC probably pushed on all these things. The one thing they do is they learn from their previous mistakes.
Yep.
And so anything they felt like Fox didn't deliver, I'm sure they put it on their things,
Sure.
Their writer, their list of things to do, or list of things we want, wish list, whatever you want to call it. And it's probably in their contract saying this is what we need out of you guys if we're gonna do business. So I'm expecting, I'm hoping for the best. If you asked me yesterday, what do you hope? I'm a guy with consistency, so I would have hoped they re-signed with Fox. But at the same time, this would have been a new deal with Fox. So they could have also said, hey, this first deal, we got through it, but going forward, let's do everything we're asking of not just you guys, but ESPN or NBC or Amazon or whoever, all those rumored outfits that were possibly going to be in bed with the UFC. So this isn't to say that Fox couldn't have also taken it to another level, but we'll just never know. They accepted the ESPN offer. Cordrick, great call. Thank you very much for the support of the show since 2014. And hope to see you at a junkie gathering. And if not, if you're ever in Vegas, please stop on by. We'd love to meet you. All right, bud?
Sounds good. You guys have a good day.
All right, take care. All right, guys. I just want to say one last thing here. The Tough Season 28, they had tryouts yesterday. They had a lot more featherweights show up than I thought. I'm talking about women featherweights. They were there with Chris Cyborg there to oversee things and participate. Yeah, apparently male heavyweights is the other weight class they were shooting for, but I haven't heard anything in terms of if many showed up or what they had. But it looked like to me they had about 30 to 40 women show up, to possibly be featherweights, UFC featherweights going forward. How many of them were good? How many of them are enough to be on a reality show? I don't know.
How's the current season going?
I kind of like it.
I like
it. I like the fact that I feel like we're actually getting quality people that can maybe stick around and do something.
This season was called Undefeated.
Yeah.
And he's right. Not only have they been, all the fighters have been pretty good.
Yep.
The ones that have come on the show, even though some of them are younger, it's like that immaturity. They know they're leaving it at the door.
Yeah.
They're actually conducting themselves like professionals. Even some Tan Lee from LFA.
I was real
he spoke really nice. So I think what we're going to get into the new era of fighters is the professionalism, the commitment that you need. It's going to be hard to just be a street fighter off the streets, and pull it together. I mean, maybe that was your background, but you need to have a good 10 years of martial arts, mixed martial arts training under your belt to be able to compete against these others that maybe don't have that background and have taken it serious and have been mature, and are straight up here. But But I'm anxious to see how it is. But what I think is going to happen is to sell yourself, you are going to have to WWE it up. You are going to have a shtick. People can keep shitting on Colby, but he will be fighting for a world title. And Goes was showing me his most recent video.
Yep.
He's sitting in a jacuzzi with a vixen, we'll call her.
Yeah.
And he's slapping her ass, and he's saying what he's got to say. And look.
Tough life, Colby.
Look at the very bottom of Twitter.
Yeah.
Look at the very bottom of Twitter, and he's got likes, retweets, and dialogue.
In
with
the
others.
thousands.
Right. So even if they're hating on him or whatever, every time he's doing something, there's a reaction. And so come June 8th, people are going to tune in to see him get his ass kicked or to cheer for him. So it's working.
You had mentioned earlier that it was going to be Dos Anjos Covington down in Brazil. That was one of the thoughts, and they had to change it due to security.
Right.
That right there shows his star power. Like him or hate him, that many people care enough about him that the UFC rips him off a card, puts him safely back into Chicago. If he goes out there and beats RDA in impressive fashion, Colby Covington will start doing Conor McGregor type numbers because he has that type of electric personality that brings attention to him. But if he can beat RDA, a former world champion, it shows. It was like when Conor beat Chad Mendes. When Conor beat Chad Mendes, we all stuck back and were like, wow, this dude's got the goods. Because we didn't really know up until that. He said it. He looked great. He beats Chad. And the way he beat Chad, tough fight. Conor had to show heart, too, not just skill set. He was able to get through some tough spots. If Covington can go out there and do that to RDA, who's to say he's not one of the best fighters in the world? Look at what RDA has done in his career. So we'll see. Now we all have to see what happens, and that's going to be a fight that I'm tuning in for. You know, I'll be there actually.
Even though Tyron doesn't like him and doesn't want to give him a shot, he forces the hand because if both guys are healthy, the incumbent must fight. The undisputed champion must fight the interim champion. There would have to be some sort of a injury like there was with Whitaker when he couldn't go, and then all of a sudden we were able to do GSP and Bisping. But otherwise, he will have forced Tyron's hand, you know, and it'll be interesting. I know Tyron doesn't want to give him that payday or that shine.
I'd love to see legitimate rankings, and I think this changes a lot of the Yair
on USA Today and MMA Junkie.
Well, I mean, legitimate rankings that were enforced. And I think this goes to Yair's issue. If he was legitimately ranked and there's a formula to who you fight in that rank, and it marches everybody towards the number one slot, I personally think that would do a lot better, and I think that would monetize better because you'd be seeing serious matchups. I mean, the media machines, there's multi-million-dollar media machines behind these athletes. They can build the story and the bylines and get the hype on it. I don't like the current system, the way athletes are just plugged and played into the rankings to fight for fights. And even I think the Nunes Pennington, if I can go back there for a second, we all know Raquel Pennington's awesome and amazing fighter. But how did she get that title shot? I don't understand that. There wasn't even enough hype or notoriety behind her, which is what I think why that card suffered a little bit. People didn't know how tough she was or how good she was until she actually fought in that fight, and then you could see, wow, this girl's got big heart, right? She's out there, she's going after it against one of the best. In Nunes, who should have that type of pay-per-view draw. But I think kind of not building that is part of the issues.
Yeah. Pennington off the Misha win, which was 18 months ago.
Right.
That would have been strike when the iron's hot.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. I think she had a ATV accident. She broke her leg, and that set things back. And in the meantime, they ran it back with Valentina. Had Valentina won, then those two would have been 1-1, and there would have been another angle. But that forced Valentina to go down to flyweight.
Yep.
And because she's 0-2 against Amanda. Let's do the daily debate. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. We've added something new, Dolce.
Oh, boy.
And it's called the Daily Debate. So we have a question that we pose to all of our readers, and then we discuss it here. So here we go.
Okay.
Today's Daily Debate brought to you by the MMA Junkie radio team and 4-time winner of the year for Trainer of the Year, Mike Dolce. Here we go. With news of the new broadcast partnership, do you think ESPN will prove a better partner for the UFC than Fox Sports has been? Dan, Tom?
I believe it will, but it's probably going to take some time. I want to be optimistic about it. I like a lot of the things that Fox did, fighters for analysts and so forth. ESPN's going to have their own style to it. It's going to be interesting to see how that style, it imparts itself in the UFC, but I'm going to remain optimistic. I'm going to go ahead and say yes here.
Goes?
I'm going to say something similar to what Dan's saying. I think early on, there'll be a lot of bumps in the road. Mixed martial arts is kind of a niche sport. It's a lot different. I mean, you see executives they can move from the Chicago Cubs to the LA Lakers, and it's kind of similar the way you run your business. Mixed martial arts is nothing like any of those. So there's going to be a lot of hiccups along the way. So I'm going to say maybe the first 2, maybe even 3 years, maybe a little rough for them. But once they get going, if they really put support behind it, yes, I think they can make it grow.
Mike Dolce?
And the question is the ESPN deal good for the UFC brand, good for ESPN, or good for the fans? That's the question. I want to see answers to all those, and I don't think we're going to get the same answer for each one of those. How that will fall on the list of priorities, again, probably the first 2 years they'll work out some kinks, and we'll give them a little bit of leeway. But by year 3, because it's, a 5-year deal, they better be humming. They better do better than what Fox had done over that term as they move forward. But I think they're all going to make money because that's what they do more than anything, right?
Right. I think numbers-wise, especially that first year, it's going to be a bang, man. That's what Fox did do a great job in year 1.
Yeah.
And then after that, I don't know if it was the sport, if it was the UFC, if it was Fox, it was a combo of everything. It just kind of settled.
Yeah.
So we'll see. If ESPN is going towards their major platforms, which is ESPN and ESPN2 with strong pushes,
yep,
then I think it will probably, they'll learn from Fox, and the UFC will learn from, their previous deals. But like Goes pointed out, go to ESPN.com, and there's never been much of a presence of MMA.
Yeah.
There's been a pushback, even going years further back. And is there going to be a big presence going forward? And if not, then it might be tough, because Fox definitely did push the UFC. So we'll see. It's a really tough question. But at least from what the readers and listeners, how they responded, 65% yes, they do think ESPN will prove to be a better partner for the UFC than Fox Sports. 35% said no.
Yeah.
So there you have it. There is our daily debate by the MMA Junkie Radio team and Mike Dolce, 4-time Trainer of the Year.
Hey.
All right, let's continue on with the phone calls. Let's go over to the Northeast. It's Ben in New York. What's up, Ben? How you doing?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
First, I want to thank you guys for actually not interrupting the callers when we call, because I've had experience with local
we try not to really do that much. Because you guys are stars of the show. We got to let you talk. So, yeah, we really try not to do that.
I love that you guys just...
we'd be massive dicks if we were doing that, right? We're not that egotistical, so we really try and just give you your platform.
Yeah,
it's like a team of professionals here, right? True professionals is what you're trying to conduct in this studio.
They take a lot of time out of their day to call in, so we got to let them say their piece, and say what's on their mind. That's what this show's all about. You're not saying much, though, but, I mean, you want to finish up here, or am I going to the next guy?
I love Ben, yeah. He's a great
guy. My point why I was calling was because with the ESPN deal, is I'm afraid that, because I'm a Dolphins fan, and a lot of the time that whenever there's a highlight or news for the Dolphins, it's just a little blip that goes by on the bottom of the screen. And what I'm afraid is with the UFC is if it's not a huge name like Conor McGregor or Ronda Rousey or John Jones or DC or somebody like that, it's just going to be a little blip on the bottom of the screen.
I tell you this,
Thanks for the call.
ESPN's gonna, or the viewers of ESPN, they're gonna think Russia's hacking ESPN once they get to UFC Moscow, when they see Magomedov just start getting spammed across the bottom of the screen over and over again.
I still have to believe that the UFC is being courted by all these big companies.
Yeah.
The UFC had to have said, this is what Fox does for us now.
Yeah.
And ESPN had to have proved that they're going to do beyond that. Otherwise, the UFC, I think, would have stuck with Fox or gone with someone else. That's just what I think, man. I'm a caveman over here. I don't know that type of stuff, but right? Doesn't that make sense? If you're being courted and you're some sort of a free agent, then that deal has to be overwhelming. And you had to have asked, okay, do we get this?
Yeah.
And are we going to do this? And are we going to be here? Are we going to be here? And you're not going to do what they did, right? You're covering all these things, right?
Yeah. And if you think about the owners of the UFC, WME. What is WME? They're an agency. What do? All day long, they put deals together.
Right.
So they know everything. They know the deals better than the studios themselves, because they're involved in every deal in every studio. So I don't think for a second that the UFC is going to get the raw end of this deal. How that works for the fans and how that works for the network ESPN, who knows? I believe win-win is best for everybody. I think the fans might take a little bit on the chin through more having to spend a little bit more money some way, somewhere, because that's the goal of all business, right? You know, kind of increase their market share. But I think it'll be a good deal because it has to be. And if the UFC's been nothing, they've been strategic in their growth. And I think this is another very strategic step in them continuing to grow their brand, because worldwide visibility, worldwide access, that's the plan, right? 7.5 billion people on the planet. They want to monetize each and every one of those. And I think ESPN takes them further that way. Again, my experience is my focus is more as a fan. When I'm sitting home with my family and my friends, what's that experience going to be like? And then we have to rely on ESPN to give us that rewarding experience, full access. You know, I want to see fights on my phone, on my laptop, when I'm flying on a plane. I'd love to see fights on the, you know, in headrest TVs, live fights, because how many fights have we missed being on planes? I'd love to see that type of initiative, and I think there will be, because there's a lot of smart people on both sides in those rooms.
We got to take a break. We got to get Mirsad Bektic on soon. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. We got Mike Dolce in the house. And Goes, I got a question for you. I have a daily debate question in my head. I think it'd be a good one to discuss. Do I just do it, or you want me to save it for your vault?
For tomorrow, right?
I don't know. I mean, it's fresh.
Tell me during the break.
I'll tell you during the break. All right, we'll be right back.
They taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
U2 is playing a private show for SiriusXM subscribers at Harlem's world-famous Apollo Theater, and we have your chance to be there. One grand prize winner will win a trip for two to New York and tickets to this very special show at the Apollo on June 11th. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/U2 before June 4th. No additional purchase necessary to enter or win. Again, our co-host for the day, Mike Dolce, chilling here with us, and now we're going to turn to our next guest. Our next guest is a UFC featherweight who will be fighting on June 8th versus Ricardo Lamas at UFC 225. Mirsad Bektic overall is 12-1. He's a finisher. He's got 6 by KO, and of those 12 wins, he's got 6 by KO and 3 by submission. Both ranked fighters. This puts the winner in a really, really great spot as that that division continues to flourish with Max Holloway and Brian Ortega. They're doing a dance 1 month later.
Yep.
And we got to start figuring out who might be next.
Puts me in a really good spot too, because last year in my predictions, I predicted Mirsad Bektic to be the champ in 2018.
Boom. Right. I agree.
Mirsad, how you doing, my man?
What's up, guys? I'm doing great. Just enjoying a nice breezy day in Canada.
Canada? Is that so?
Yeah, Montreal. It's beautiful out here.
Montreal. Okay, so you're with Faraz at that camp?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, I track you guys. I'm not a stalker, but I knew the ATT days were over. I thought I saw you out there in Colorado somewhere. So maybe you were. But has this been the new full-time camp, or are you spreading your talents in different gyms, getting different looks?
No, as far as mixed martial arts goes in my UFC career, this is TriStar it for me. After the fight, depending on where I go to visit, whether I'm in Bosnia or visiting family or friends overseas, I'll train over there. But as far as MMA goes, this is my home base.
How much have you spoken on this? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but ATT just it ran its course. Was there an actual reason for leaving, or why no longer there?
Yeah, ATT kind of just ran its course. I was there for 5, almost 6 years. I signed a 5-year contract with them. I fulfilled my contract, and it's just it's just one of those things. It just wasn't for me anymore. I wasn't getting what I wanted, and it took me a while to make the decision to get out of there. But thanks to some advisors, I finally kind of had the balls to do it and kind of left, and it's been good. Now looking back, I'm very happy about my decision, and I think it was just I feel like a student of the game all over again, like I just begun my career. I'm very happy about that feeling.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt there. Was it a one-way ticket from Florida to Montreal, or did you travel the country and check out other gyms before arriving at that decision?
Montreal, as far as it wasn't a one-way ticket. No, I mean it was a one-way ticket. I traveled around a little bit, training with Jordan Burroughs, some different camps with him. I went to John Danaher's gym, but as far as MMA gyms went, this is pretty much the only place I thought about going other than ATT. And then after visiting here for a week, I went back to ATT and spent some time there. I knew no matter where I went in the world, I still had to take Mirsad with me. So I just wanted to make sure it was the right decision. And just before getting to another camp, and that's why it took me so long before after that Elkin fight, before having the fight lined up again, and I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to be there with another camp, and I made my decision. I went to TriStar, and it's been amazing. I'm one of the best decisions, if not the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
What's it like to wrestle with Jordan Burroughs?
Oh, it's good, man. He's a super cool guy, very very genuine, and just being around, being around the best guys in the world at their respective sports. Being around Jordan Burroughs, being around Terrence Crawford, WBO, WBA, being around him, being around George St. Pierre. So I've got the best guys in their respective sports and the respective arts around me. So it's nice to see myself, seeing how I match up to them and seeing how my mentality is compared to theirs, and taking something away from each and every one of them and putting them into my daily life.
That is quite a list, man. That's probably one of the best pound-for-pound boxers right now. Terrence Crawford, I'm a big fan of his. I thought if he had been a few years older and Floyd a few years younger, I thought he had the skills to take out Floyd. Floyd exited at the right time. And then Burroughs, of course, two-time world champion, one-time Olympian, two-time finalist.
Olympic champion.
Yeah, I mean, incredible there. GSP, and I can see now why Mirsad wanted to stay with the greatness, and he's on the MMA Junkie radio show today. That all makes sense. But that's surrounding yourself with people like that, man. That's amazing.
Exactly. And I just want to keep that ball rolling in that direction, and I feel like that's what's happening. And I'm just seeing the compounded interest of everything, all my work ethic, all my being around those guys. It's all coming out. So again, just want to keep it going.
All right. Speaking of Jordan Burroughs, let's talk to Goes the Burrow. Goes, what do you have for Mirsad Bektic?
Mirsad, those are 3 names in 3 different sports that are top-notch. I would imagine if that's your training, the actual fight has got to be the easy part, because that seems like where all the beating up is going to be happening is in the training. Can you talk a little bit about your mood going into the fight?
Yeah, man, I'm just enjoying the process. I'm enjoying every day here. I'm just enjoying training. I'm just not putting too much stress on myself, or I used to put so much unnecessary pressure on myself that I felt like training had to be it had to be kind of not enjoyable. But now it's just I enjoy training. I enjoy getting better. With all the coaches here at TriStar, man, they just have so many different tools, so many different skills that I thought I had, but I really don't have. And they're teaching me that, and I feel like I said, I'm a student and I'm learning. So it's just a great feeling.
Mirsad, last year.
I'm just enjoying. I'm just enjoying it, enjoying the weather, enjoying the lifestyle of. It's kind of being in college again, but I enjoy what I'm doing.
Last year, I made the prediction that I thought you would be the champion at the end of this year. But when I saw your last fight, I thought, champion of what division? Because you look like you're still kind of growing, and you look like you could even be a lightweight eventually. Have you ever thought about that move? Is that move going to come eventually one day?
Yeah, definitely something that's definitely something that could happen one day. I'm just not. I don't want to look too far ahead, but it's definitely something. I'm still growing. That I think that just you can see even from my last fight, my skills. I think a lot of people saw a lot of things that they didn't see before, and just like that, I'm growing. I'm strong. Even now, I'm stronger. I'm bigger. I'm leaner, but I'm just getting better everywhere. My French is getting better. Everything is getting better.
Your French kissing?
I plead a fifth.
Exactly.
Mirsad Bektic, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio, will be fighting Ricardo Lamas at UFC 225 on June 8th. These are featherweights. That's the 145-pound division ruled by Max Holloway. All right, Dan, Tom, our fight analyst, what do you have for Mirsad Bektic?
Mirsad, I was actually just listening to an interview with Eric Spicely this morning. It was a bit of an older interview. I'm not sure if he's still up there, but he's another usual suspect, I believe, of the TriStar dorms. And he was sharing that.
Yeah, he's my roommate. He just left.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, he was sharing, and you can tell me this, and who knows? Maybe it'll trigger something. Dolce can confirm or deny. But he said you are quite the enforcer. Complimentary. He's your boy. You got nothing but respect. But he said you are the enforcer. If anybody's slamming doors or being too loud in the dorms, he said Bektic was the guy that shut it down. Is there truth to that, my man?
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say an enforcer, but if somebody's acting out of line, I try to be very respectful about it, and I feel like everybody should respect each other's space. And with that many guys in one place, it's very, it's very necessary to be, clean up after yourself and respect respect the noise. I'm here to get better. I'm not here to, make friends or, do all these other extra activities. I'm here to get better and win. And you know, that's I don't want nothing coming in between that. When it's the weekend, you know, it's time to have a little fun. You know, stay up a little later. That's okay, but for the most part, it's work time.
Right on, man. And obviously, you know, like you said, working with the best is going to help get you to the best. But let me just ask you, with the dorm situation, I haven't seen the TriStar ones. I've seen the ones at Alliance, which are kind of just like above the gym. And, you know, some of these aren't the most glamorous spots, but I always got to imagine, does it help keep you in that kind of hungry, mental, like focused mindset as a fighter? Do you almost kind of prefer, in other words, do you almost prefer the limited environment, if you will, over something luxurious because that helps you keep you focused? Or how does that work for you?
Definitely. I definitely enjoy the TriStar dorm. As you said, it's nothing by any means fancy at all. I mean, it's a very. I mean, my dad saw. I was FaceTiming him, and he saw. He's like, "Man, where's your roof?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't have one." So you know, you can hear everything pretty easily. But yeah, it's a simple life. It's a very simple life. It's a samurai lifestyle. You know, you go there, you work, you go home, you eat, you rest, you can do it again. And if you're not about that life, then this is not the place for you to be. You know, and I think everybody knows that. If you have a problem with it, then go stay somewhere else.
I love it.
But for me, it's very simple, and the more simpler it is, the more I like it.
And I'm looking over here at your big brother Mike Dolce, and he's got a big smile on your face. Dolce, you got to be happy to hear. You got to be happy to be in business with someone that's so focused and driven like Mirsad Bektic. You know what I mean? Hearing what you're hearing about who he's training with, how he's shutting down the party guys, we're there to do work. Talk a little bit about your relationship with Mirsad Bektic, Dolce.
Mirsad and I, we go back 6 years now. I mean, I think you were 20 years old when we first met and started working together in the early days when Mirsad was still on regional Midwest cards. And even at that time, that young man, some 6 years ago, had the same professional work ethic that he has right now, and he had the same manners and etiquette and civility that you can hear in him talking. He's one of the best human beings on the planet. Literally has complete access to my house, my family, with me not being home. He stayed at our house not long ago, and I was just coming downstairs, and Mirsad is holding, at that point, my 18-month-old daughter, Victoria, and he's singing to her and dancing in my kitchen with her. It was the most beautiful scene. Now, this is the guy who's also destined to be the most dominant UFC featherweight champion in the history of the sport, that has a level of violence that we haven't seen before, with the same athleticism of a George St. Pierre. So everything that Mirsad Bektic does is a step towards greatness and the public showcase of that greatness. So for me, it's an honor and a privilege to just watch my friend unlock his true potential and continue to grow. So it's an amazing journey. Love the guy. Love Mirsad. And just what we're witnessing right now with this man is incredible. We'll be talking 3 years from now about him as the LeBron James of MMA.
There you have it, Mirsad.
I hope so. It's very reciprocal.
Right on, man.
Very cool. Mirsad, let's get to one last question here before we let you go. The matchup is Ricardo Lamas. He is from Chicago. He's no joke. He's been ranked for many years. If you look at his wins, he's beaten a lot of top cats, and the losses have been to the highest of the high. Talk a little bit about that matchup, what it means to you, and where you think it puts you in regards to the featherweight ladder towards Max Holloway.
Well, he's ranked number 7, so I think it puts me, I beat him, I take his number. I think that's where it puts me. Maybe 2-3 more fights away from the title shot. That's what I'm thinking. But as far as he goes, it's just, he's just an opponent. I mean, look at what happened with Khabib and all those opponents changes. So I don't really focus too much on a person like Lamas. I know what he's capable of doing. I know his skill set. He's one of the best featherweights in the world, and so am I. And we're going to go out there, we're going to scrap it out. The ball's in the air, and we're going to see where it lands. I know I'm going in there better prepared than I've ever been. And it's not just a cliche, that's just the reality of it. I've been here in Montreal for 3 months now. Never missed one practice, so I know my consistency, I know my work ethic, just my skill set that I'm bringing in is it's gonna make it very hard for him, and we're gonna see what happens. But I'm very confident in myself and my coaches and in my team, and I'm just excited to go out there and let my rehearsal take over. You know, it's nothing fancy, but just do my thing and just do what Mirsad does and go out there and win. That's what I'm in it to win it. So anybody knows me, I know I'm a competitor, and it's not gonna be easy for him either. So I have no pressure on me. It's his hometown. If anything, all the pressure's on him. His last fight didn't go very well, and it's a hard way to lose. I just saw it last night.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what's up.
He does have that pressure, because he's been a winner most of his life.
Yeah, I mean, his family's there. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to bring my family to that fight. That's for sure.
Well, I did want to slip in one more. All right, a few months ago, maybe it was weeks. I don't know. Boy, I'm drawing a blank. The Afghani fighter.
CR?
CR
Bahadrzada. Yeah, wow, I don't know why I blanked it on CR. CR Bahadrzada had a fight. CR Bahadrzada from Afghanistan. He had a fight. He won his fight, and it was really cool because they kept panning up to the audience, and there was a group of about 15, and they had the Afghani flag, and then in the end, in his post-fight speech, he said something to him, and he said he told us, he gave us a story that he ran into him later, and I was wondering, will there be a Bosnia presence at your fight? Like, do you see that flag at your fights at all? And is it more like? Have you heard anything like that? Is there that type of a presence in Chicago?
Definitely. I mean, Chicago has a very, very big Bosnian population. I've been to Chicago a few times, and I get a lot of love from Chicago. So I know just from the messages I receive from fans on a daily basis, I know a lot of people. St. Louis has a population of 70,000 Bosnians. So I know lots of them are coming down from St. Louis. My own family. If you look at my last fight, if you watch it, I'm sure you've seen it. You'll see, how much family, 20 family members came out to that fight. So you saw the flags in the audience. So it's going to be very cool. I'm just excited to see the whole Balkan region. I think it's going to be people are going to be very surprised by the support system I bring going into Chicago.
We look forward to it, man. It's going to be a great fight, and thank you for making some time for us here on the MMAjunkie radio team. It's always great to catch up with you, Mirsad.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys very much, and Dolce, I appreciate you very much.
My brother.
All right, there you have it, folks. Thanks, Mirsad. Take care. That's Mirsad Bektic. Follow him on Twitter at Mirsad Bektic MMA, MIRSAD BEKTIC MMA. We'll be right back to close up shop. It's MMAjunkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93 with Mike Dolce in the house.
Hey.
They can drink Mentos flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs in a single thought. They are gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Barstool Radio is bringing their own original flavor to sports and pop culture stories that are trending this week, such as the NBA and the NHL playoffs.
Whoa.
The list, celebrity gossip, and more. Sorry, there was a comma there that I didn't recognize. Enjoy refreshing content that's by the common man, for the common man. Barstool Radio on Power 85 and anytime on the SiriusXM app. All right, we got Mike Dolce in the house.
Wait, what if we Shazam that song?
Couple minutes of OT, or you guys got to get it the fuck out of here?
I'm
fine. I got a couple questions for you.
I got OT time.
Let's do my Hal from Chicago right quick. What's up, Hal? How you doing?
Hey, great, guys. Listen, I got to talk about that kick, man. I'm still thinking about Machida. You know, that kick, in the immortal words of Clearwater Beach Bad Boy, was phenomenal. Poor Vitor, though. I mean, you kicked me once, shame on me. Front kicked me twice, time to retire, you know. But I will say this about Machida. He's an underrated legend, in my opinion. You know, this guy, number one, he's Japanese and Brazilian. Those are the two, the classic nationalities that obviously gave birth to MMA. And just the karate, reminding us that still had a place in MMA. You know, just when everybody had written off all those classic arts, he just reminded us of what was possible, you know. But I want to ask you about this, Dolce. Now, Machida is also famous for his nutritional practices of consuming his own urine to reabsorb some of those vitamins. So the shallow hell debate of the day, daily debate, is there any, you know, validity to that method? I mean, even worth putting it in your smoothie or something, all right? I'll take it up here. Take it, guys.
Now, are you talking about your own urine, or are we talking about Lyoto Machida's urine?
No, his own.
Your own urine. Because if it's Machida's urine, then yes.
But he's not that bad.
You should ask Machida if you can drink it. But for your own urine, absolutely not. I would stay away from that toxic shit. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's silly in this modern era of clean food options. To drink your own urine is the silliest thing ever. And I don't believe Machida actually did that. You know, don't believe everything you see on TV. But you can certainly try it if you want. Report back to us. Definitely post it on IG and tag me.
Our Dr. Johnny Benjamin, who, well, he's no longer with MMA Junkie. He's had some troubles lately. So I don't think he will be with MMA Junkie. But about 5 years ago, he was consistent doing the medical beat.
Sure.
And somebody asked him that question. I'm going to try and
I remember that.
it to how he said it.
Yeah.
But he basically said your own urine is 95% water. He goes, so why not just grab
water?
You know, why not just grab a fresh glass of water and get 100% water? It's just water mostly.
That's fun.
You know, I guess.
What are you trying to get out of your
he basically
your
just shot it down as something very silly to do. You can just grab your own water. There's whatever nutrients there might be, there's not enough to help you out. But there's a Japanese guy who I think was honoring a tradition or pastime of something his dad taught him. So he may be so used to it that it's no big deal. I don't know. But
that's always a big deal.
Yeah. We are going to do some overtime, but I want to ask you a question about Vitor. One time you guys were pretty close.
Yeah, we worked for quite a while together.
I want to ask you about that. So, SiriusXM audience, we will see you all tomorrow with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. Any part of the show that you may have missed, or anytime you miss a whole show, you're available to get it on the SiriusXM app. Get it. You'll see a lot of shows there, aside from ours, from our channel and other channels that are available in HD quality and commercial free. So check it out. The rest of you, head on over to MMAjunkie.com/official MMA Junkie. No, that's not it. It's Facebook.com/official MMA Junkie or YouTube.com/MMA Junkie Video. We'll be back with like 5 minutes of overtime.
The nighttime turning night into daytime. If you see it once, you'll never be the same again. I'm gonna keep on the run, gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime. If I wind up broke, well, I'll always remember that I had a swing in time.
Guys, clear for overtime.
I wanted to ask you, at one time you and Vitor were close. You monitored his weight cuts and everything, and then eventually, you know, he went his way, you went your way. But when you see something like that, how much do you still how close do you get to him? Or you feel for the guy, or do you just, is it just business is business? You give me a sum of money, I help you make weight, and that's it. Like, how attached do you get to some of these guys?
I get like Mirsad. You heard the relationship. Mirsad's one of the few athletes that we choose to continue with, not because we don't respect the profession and the opportunities, but because it's such an emotional relationship. We don't look to rifle through athletes and just to collect paychecks. That doesn't make sense. And if you're properly working with an athlete, it's an all-in experience. It's a daily experience. It's as consumed as they are in their career and their health, so must I and my team be. So with someone like Vitor, when we worked together for multiple fights, we had that type of relationship. I'd be at his house every morning cooking breakfast, literally holding his daughter, making the breakfast bowl, and just participating in family activities. Same thing with Mirsad, who comes and stays at my house when he's in town, and other athletes. Luke Barnett's in town right now from The Ultimate Fighter, fought in the UFC. Now he's fighting over in Australia. He's in town right now. He's coming over to dinner this week with his wife.
Does he still live in Spain?
He lives in Spain, but he's here.
Okay.
You guys should, I'll put you or get in touch with him. A great story and what he's up to. So the answer is, I get extremely involved, emotionally involved with the athlete, and it's so damn time-consuming, which only allows for a very few amount of athletes, in our opinion, to do the job properly, to be a full-time, all-hands-on-deck in every aspect of the athlete's life. But you can only do that with certain humans that you have that click and bond with. So every athlete that we work with, my criteria is I will just leave the key under the mat, and they can come and stay in my house. Like that, if I don't have that type of feel and my family doesn't have that type of feel, we'll do a little consulting work. We'll answer some questions and something like that. But we don't go all in, as you guys will associate. Like working with a Ronda Rousey and Vitor when we were with him, Mirsad Bektic right now, and Carlos Condit, who's amazing, right? Amazing human being. So that's the criteria that we use. It's not the paycheck. It's not the place on the card, and it's not even the date and opportunity. It's the emotional attachment.
You brought up Ronda Rousey, and
Yep.
now she's pro wrestling in the WWE. She's leaned on you before for advice as far as getting her fight ready for competition in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Does she do the same for pro wrestling, and can you offer anything to that?
Well, we're performance, right? We're a longevity-based company. So, we have thousands of clients around the world that are Olympic and professional athletes, Hollywood celebrities, heads of state, and then regular people coming off the surgery table because they just had a quadruple bypass. So our team works with every one of those type of individuals, and from ultra-endurance athletes like a Cameron Haynes to and marathon, Galen Rupp, who won the bronze in the Olympics in the marathon for the United States. We work with athletes like that, but also some pro wrestlers we work with too. To answer your question with Ronda is already a very healthy person, very hard training athlete. She lives this type of lifestyle because that's what all intelligent humans should be living, right? And then she's such a specimen with athletics. She can thrive. So with us, the specialized hands-on work that we did with Ronda was to get her onto weight in a safe and healthy and efficient manner for performance. If she's not making 135, we don't have to have that type of relationship to be working with what she's doing inside the WWE, and she's killing it. She looks amazing, crazy breakneck schedule. She's always super healthy and fit and very intelligent with her own selection. So when we work professionally with Ronda, it's as an adjunct to her lifestyle, as a specialist who comes in. And then from this perspective in WWE, we're just fans and friends and supporters of what she's doing.
You still talk to her?
Yeah. I mean, not daily for any means, but text messages. We still talk to members of her team, her extended team, coaching staff and whatnot. Certainly not daily, but a couple times a year. That type of relationship.
Here comes the question: have you heard of the anti-inflammatory diet? Do you recommend turmeric as an anti-inflammatory to be taken in a capsule?
Turmeric.
So I don't know the anti-inflammatory diet, man. There's
What
so
do I call it?
Turmeric.
What is it?
Turmeric.
It's got a not so silent / silent R, right? That throws everybody off.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And pronunciation doesn't really matter, Or you take it or you're not. Now, to answer that question, the turmeric, my pronunciation of it works extremely well, kind of anecdotally. I've anecdotally heard people report they've had benefits. Science is kind of there that supports it, but science supports a lot of other products that have similar. You could talk about an MSM or a glucosamine and chondroitin. They have mixed results, and it's like a third. A third of the people it works for, a third of the people it's kind of neutral, and a third of the people don't tolerate it well. Where do you fall into that general category? What I will say is, reducing inflammation is very important, and you can do that through diet, which we all should. You can do that through intelligent exercise, applied stimuli, physical stimuli, and you should also be managing that through rest, recuperation, and stress management. Then you can look at like cold immersion tables and massage and other ways.
Are you on the CBD bandwagon?
Again, anecdotally, I'm hearing lots of good things. I've tried it myself multiple times. I didn't feel any benefit at relatively high doses to what the controls were in the published studies. So maybe I'm just one of the non-responders, and I was very specific, and I'm pretty...
Right, but did you try it without the THC?
Did they make that? I didn't know they made that. Let me go back. Let me get rid of my supply first. So yeah, I'm into all that, and I would always, and even for years and decades, we would always suggest holistic methods to reducing inflammation prior to the NSAIDs, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and prescription drugs like Celebrex, which all have a huge negative list and a massive list of contradictions. You have to be very careful taking that stuff, where THC, CBD has similar, and I think we could safely say it has similar medicinal benefits, which with a much lower risk of side effects and less addictive qualities, because some people get addicted to those prescription drugs because once they come off, their knee hurts again. So they take more.
Okay. It can get tricky too with like bioavailability or compounding stuff. I think it's a whole nother world, right? Because some things are certain bioavailability. Like for turmeric, I'll chop like a thumb size into my smoothie every morning.
Best way to do it.
I don't know if it's helping me or not. I will say as somebody who's had bone contusions in his ankle, and I've had shots into the bone. I haven't had to have one of those in a couple of years, and I will feel it more when it gets colder. But to be honest, it's been pretty as bad as my diet gets. The one thing I will do is that smoothie I don't skip every morning, and then has those quote unquote anti-inflammatory properties that you see in these inflammatory diets. Yeah. But I don't know enough about those, but I can say anecdotally that I like the turmeric. It helps me, but I don't know if that's a real science or not.
Absolutely, it is.
So that was your answer. Taking it is good.
It is good. Consult with your doctor before starting this or any other diet or exercise program. Right? This is not medical advice. But yeah, and what we do, we get it from, like Dan is saying, from earth-grown sources. We go to the Home Depot and we get a big old grip of turmeric and ginger and just pretty much anything and everything that's new. We rotate a lot. I won't go to the grocery store, the produce section, unless I'm getting at least 20 different items. And every time I go, it's 20 altered, varied items from the same category on the same shelf. So we always have this constant rotation of these earth-grown nutrients. And maybe it's not always and every time the turmeric's in there because we just ran out and we're going to try something different, but it's always a part of the lifestyle, and that globally is an anti-inflammatory diet, which is why we always talk about earth-grown nutrients as compared to processed foods or synthetic chemicals in food, because that creates inflammation. There's a digestive disruption. So we look for foods that are most easily digested, and of course, those foods are the same foods all humans have been eating since the dawn of time. We've developed the ability to digest that better than these brand new, harsh synthetic chemicals that often have their own list of contradictions once they hit that very volatile digestive environment. So it's not just one item, it's the entire lifestyle. But then if you sleep like shit, everything you did nutritionally is negated, and if you're training like a meathead going too hard too long, well then everything again is negated. And then if you're carrying a lot of stress because you don't pay your bills on time, or you're behind on your work project, or your girl's making you nuts, then everything else is negated. So if we really want to get to the answer, you have to look at all those four pillars. If not, it's going to be unstable constantly.
Ready for a silly question?
Always.
All right. I watch Jersey Shore.
Oh, God.
And Vinny is the Keto Guido.
Of course he is.
Is he tripping or what?
He's tripping. Keto is such a fucking fad bullshit fake. So the ketogenic diet,
You did say fad, right?
Fad. Let me back up for a second. FAD. It's fad. It comes through multiple times. So the current versions of the ketogenic diet are a bastardization of medical ketosis and the nutrition philosophy that is designed to get the average human into medical ketosis. Medical ketosis is essentially when the body stops using stored glycogen from consumed carbohydrates stored in the muscle, stored in the liver, stops using that as the primary fuel source and starts using fat, stored body fat, is the assumption, and then consumed body fat is a fuel source. And the argument that these keto heads make is that that's the primary fuel source for that. The body wants to run off these ketones more than more than the fat, more than the carbohydrates. And then they say if you follow their diet, their program, their Guido Keto, of course, that's a good brand name, by the way, Dolce Diet. But by pushing that, right, by pushing that, people are like, oh, that's the magic pill. I just dropped carbs. What happens? So they drop carbs. And in keto, you have to drop your carbs below 20 grams per day. That's medical ketosis, so the diet that's supposed to get you in there. Above 20 grams per day, likely you're not fully utilizing fat as the fuel source. You are using some of these carbohydrates. Your body's, producing insulin, and these other aspects are changing. So they say follow our keto diet, then you'll be in ketosis. Shame on you, number one, is the vast majority of people who are following a ketogenic diet never attain ketosis. They never attain the biochemical state of ketosis. So then they say they're following a ketogenic diet. No, you're not. You're just following a low-carb diet, and typically it's a disordered diet. This creates disordered eating patterns. And I say this from the experience of someone who speaks with thousands of human beings every year. My team works with thousands of human beings every year. We know what everybody's doing on every continent and every country. I don't know any team that works with more humans than we do and has more data. If the ketogenic diet worked, I would be selling it. And I would be swimming like Scrooge McDuck through piles of exogenous ketone Bitcoin and US dollar bills. But it doesn't work, and it's bullshit. And if you look at right now, everyone who followed the ketogenic diet last year is now kind of foo-fooing it, and they're doing this time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting, basically still very low carbohydrate, kind of like a la keto, but now only eating in 4 and 6 and 2 hour windows, having 1-2 meals per day. Because keto didn't quite do what it was supposed to, so they said, shit, we pulled everything out. We can't even pull any more food out really without dying, so let's just eat a hell of a lot less of it. And that's the next secret. So I'm going to wrap this up in a second. So all the fools that were pushing keto a year and 2 years or so ago are now flip-flopping and pushing this time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting. If you look at them 3 years ago, they were pushing a different, brand-new, revolutionary dietary philosophy. What we talk about is normalizing eating, right? Ordering your eating, being intentional and mindful of your eating earth-grown nutrients, eating the same foods that have sustained all of life on this planet since the dawn of time in great variety, as close to the point of consumption as possible in season. What does that mean? Just like our early settlers, not this Paleolithic man and all that BS, people basically ate the food that was around them and accessible in that time of year. If you simply eat like that with great variety, you think the Paleolithic man is walking past a blueberry bush because, oh, this carbohydrates, like, I won't eat that. No, it's bullshit. So this wool has been pulled over everybody's eyes. The vast majority of the listeners and the population, you know the girl who's doing keto and your buddy's doing keto and this one's doing keto. Keto just sounds cool to say. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Cool as burrito.
Burrito. And on the Dolce diet, you can actually eat burritos. We have multiple burritos and fajitas and nacho and chili recipes. Hashtag not keto, yet we all get lean and ripped and perform at high levels, and we have perfect blood work and like skin and hair and eyes and everything improves. So to answer that question long on this keto thing, it's a disordered eating pattern. What you simply need to do is eat mindfully and intentionally based upon what your needs are without over-consuming. And when you're eating real food, you don't over-consume. It's very difficult to eat 4 apples. But I can eat 4 bagels and 4 slices of pizza and 4 donuts. I can eat all those at the same time. But I can't eat 4 apples. I'll have an apple, maybe 2, a handful of cashews. I'm good for like 2-3 hours. It's that type of mentality. And now that's not keto. Last thing, I love this one. On keto, you cannot eat a cup of blueberries in a day. It has 20 grams of carbohydrate. You can eat a bag of pork rinds, a stick of butter, and a block of cheese. That's cool. And a pound of bacon. That's cool. That's healthy. But I can't eat a one cup, measured cup of blueberries, nor 1 apple, which has 21 grams of carbohydrate. How does that make sense to anybody? Yet, because your coworker, quote, lost 20 pounds on it, you're going to follow that as if it's true. And then 3 weeks later, 6 weeks later, she gains the 20 back plus 5 or 10 or 15 more and has such a screwed up metabolism and digestive environment, she won't be back down to that weight for a year or 2, maybe.
So just speaking from experience real quick, just to add on, this relevant to the point. And I've never subscribed for the keto fully for that reason. I mean, my cup of blueberries, that's one of the main staples in my morning smoothie, and that would set me over. But someone with health markers from when I was young to also head trauma issues, and cognitive issues and stuff. So a high-fat diet actually is recommended for me. That does well for me. But even then, I didn't subscribe fully and notice the benefits. But the problem, and maybe this can relate to another bigger problem, is a lot of the people, is average Joe, that these things are being marketed to, that these people are intaking, that they're not active like these professional athletes that are requiring a certain amount of energy or having to really kind of pick apart their day, and they're not doing that activity. And I noticed for me personally that taking in, especially if you have markers like high cholesterol to start with, and taking in, even if it's a healthy cholesterol, you can speak more to this, and then being sedative and not moving, that almost can start causing more issues that I'm kind of slowly figuring out and having to deconstruct my diet. Any truth to that, or am I hitting on any?
Well, I think the first part you said, you're following a lower carbohydrate or a carbohydrate controlled diet. That often gets swept into the ketogenic world. They try and take ownership of it. But ketogenic means ketosis. If it doesn't create ketosis, it's not a ketogenic diet. It's a low carb diet, or a very low carb diet, or a moderate carb diet, or a high carb diet, or it's a cyclical carb cycle. Like, which one is it? But the ketogenic community tries to sweep it all over onto their side of the line so they can monetize, so they can sell. And that's bullshit. That's why I speak as loudly and passionately as I do. Most people think they're following a ketogenic diet when they will never be in ketosis. They will never be in ketosis. They're not in ketosis. They haven't been in ketosis, but they claim it's because of ketosis that they've lost weight. They've simply started to control their carbohydrate intake like you. You're intentional and mindful of why you're eating the blueberries, right? And you're going through your day. So if you're eating a couple of blueberries a day, you're probably taking a double to triple that easily just through your produce and your green vegetables and your peppers, through additional carbohydrates that are added through your day. Heck, even some of your meats even have traces of carbohydrates in it. So by going through that, and if you were testing, you would see that you're not in ketosis. So it's not ketosis. You would admit and understand.
Right.
Most people we speak to, they're so confused by the beautiful marketing. I mean, beautiful, genius marketing behind this ketogenic movement, because a lot of these fitness brands have these SEO teams, these marketing teams, and these social media teams behind them. They get the hashtag, they get the ad word, they get SEO ranking, and they run with it. They just fan the flame of those hashtags. But the science is flawed. And if you read down the science, you see, well, that's not flawed, or that's not correct, that's flawed. And then you look at the practical application, which is what we see every day. I have so much data from regular people. We see the data. We know it works. Again, if I felt it worked, I'd be all in. All in. Cha-ching, swimming in it. Conor McGregor, he'd be renting my jets, right? Boom, boom, boom. There's no much. I mean, there's more money in fitness than fighting, for sure. But no, it's not. It's not. So I never jumped into that. And I keep pushing the truth, and this is the truth. It's education. You eat the real food, the same foods that our ancestors did. That's sustained all of life on the planet since the dawn of time. Don't make it crazy. Don't get crazy about it. Just eat real food. Get rid of the processed shit. Get rid of the synthetic chemicals, and you will be amazing.
Can you imagine if you are on that diet and you just heard that? You'd probably be like, God, man.
Damn.
Especially if you went, oh, wait, he's going to address it right now.
Just putting the bacon down.
Put the speaker on, and you call your coworkers over and they're huddled, and they just look at you like,
yep.
Is everybody good on time? Do I have time for one more question?
I'm good.
Well, I'm good on time, and I have one more question.
You guys?
Good?
You just had the last question.
Yeah.
Danny, are you good on time?
Yeah, for a little while.
Okay. All right, let me ask one, because you just had one.
Huh?
Let me ask one.
Oh, yeah.
If you had...
Is it about the burritos again?
No.
Delicious. Hey, let me get a cone here, side of burrito. Huh?
Hey.
If you had to choose the same meal plan to eat every day, what would it be? No deviations, just the same thing every day.
My exact meal plan right now, that's on 3 weeks of shredded. The exact
You're
meal
in the
plan.
middle of a 3 weeks to shredded, right?
I'm in the middle of it. I'm on day... What's today? I'm on
dropped 15 pounds?
Day 19. I dropped over 20 pounds. I dropped 20.2 pounds as of yesterday, as of day 18. 20.2 pounds I dropped in 18 days following the online version of 3 weeks of shredded. This is the same program that we've developed over 20 plus years, working with the world's greatest athletes, getting them ready for weight class dominated sport. We turn that into the most sophisticated online platform ever devised. I know that because I've been members and studied every other platform like it out there. Ours is the only non-template, which means we built a very specific rule engine and algorithm to ensure everybody who signs up gets a personalized program down to, we say, double zeros, down to you specifically. Every ingredient, every gram, every ounce, every teaspoon is for you, plus the training program that corresponds to your background. You go through you put in your background, your personal history, your training goals, your current lifestyle, put that all in, and it creates the program for you. I've been following
picture
that.
This was like a what if. You can only eat the same thing every day for the rest of your life.
Breakfast bowl first thing in the morning.
What's in it?
The breakfast bowl. So my breakfast bowl right now is a quarter cup of oat bran. It's 1 cup of raw berries or fresh berries typically right now. It's 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, 2 tablespoons of almond seed. It's about as much cinnamon as I want to sprinkle on. Every so often I do coconut flakes until we run out. It takes me a week or 2 to get more. 2 tablespoons of almond butter sunk down into the middle. That's my everyday. Sometimes I'll heat the berries and break them down and call it fresh berry syrup.
For lunch, I imagine you have a snack?
Usually it's half an avocado and some sort of tree fruit, apple or pear, nectarine, an orange, something like that.
What's lunch?
Lunch is an egg meal, typically egg or a fish, a wild-caught salmon. So right now it's been 4.
The scramble? Dolce scramble?
Yeah.
Does that qualify?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
so the scramble.
I love that shit.
How delicious is it?
Except I had a hot sauce from Miss Cayo restaurant here. One of those. They sell it at Albertsons just to spice it up a little. Am I just killing it at that
You
point?
can make your own hot sauce. If you like hot, this is what Dwayne Ludwig does. He loves it. So he makes his own jalapenos. He chops jalapenos into his eggs and his omelets and whatnot. So if you like it hot, you can feel free to do that. Okay. Stay away from the synthetic store-bought stuff. There's a couple brands that actually have very minimal non-GMO organic ingredients. It's cleaner, right? Non-processed sugar in there because that's a big one. They all add some sort of sugar or sugar substitute. I don't even know the ingredients, but read the ingredients is really what we say, as close to earth-grown as possible.
All right, so now that's your lunch. Let's get to the afternoon snack.
Afternoon snack is typically post-workout, so it's 20 to 30 grams of a cold-processed, cross-flow, microfiltered whey protein isolate, half cup of blueberries and 12 ounces.
You can't just say like a fucking drink or something. No, like eight titles there, man. Listen to what you just said.
It's cold-processed, which keeps all the vital cofactors of nutrients.
Just grab that out of the fridge? Is that what that means?
We actually we make it. So I have my own product, my own version right now. So that's the one. Cold processed, cross flow, microfiltered, which is the way it's actually filtered. Most of the whey proteins out there are filtered using synthetic chemicals. It's like a bleach spray, if you will. We use this cross flow microfiltration, which is very expensive, very time consuming, but it's the best possible way. And it's essentially a system of ceramic plates that clean and sift out the whey protein itself. That half a cup of blueberries and then 12 ounces of ice cold coconut water just blended. That's my post workout. Then from there it's dinner, and I'll say the skinny sumo stir fry. Typically, if I had eggs in the morning, it's probably 4 ounces of fish, wild caught salmon at night. It's 2 cups of some sort of green vegetable. I like asparagus and broccoli.
It can be chicken though instead of the fish.
It can be chicken, any sort of lean meat.
I do that for 3 weeks. I could lose 20 pounds.
Fuck yeah! If I could, I mean, I did. My goal is to lose 21 pounds in 21 days. I'll probably lose 25. I haven't even started the water manipulation, playing with my electrolytes like I would do for a weight cut. I haven't done any hot tub work or sweat work at all. I'll probably wake up 25 pounds down. If I do, our peak week type of protocols, I could probably be down 34 pounds.
The one thing I can do, and these guys will tell you, my palate is very basic. I can eat the same stuff.
Me too, brother.
Not every day, but I can try it. But I'm not one of those that has to have a variety of things. I'm pretty simple. I look at the menu and just say, yeah, that thing that I had last time. I don't really deviate. So
we've done research,
man. Interesting.
And I think
you're very inspiring, and you tell this to you all the time.
I try, man.
Of course, once I get the bat, I don't hit it out of the park like he does. But
think about this. And we've done the research, and we have the data of thousands of people. Most people, they eat the same 2 breakfasts almost every day for years.
Yeah.
They eat pretty much the same 2 lunches every day. And then dinner, in a week, they have 2 to 3 different dinner options. That's their go-tos for they and their family. So if you think about that, pick 2 breakfasts that you love, 2 lunches that you love, and 3 different dinners that you love that suit your goals. Then there's no real restrictions. You don't have to count calories and track macros and do all that BS. Breakfast bowl and then some sort of smoothie or egg meal or BLT on sprouted grain toast, whatever it is, make it yours, and then just live that lifestyle. Watch how fast your body changes, because it's a lifestyle. And then if you want to get crazy, we say the last 10%, the peaking. We got the junkie gathering coming up. You got a pool party or your fishing trip, or it's a wedding or whatever it is. That last 10%, you can take that 3 weeks or so, and just dial it in to peak out, and then go back to your normal lifestyle. They make it too hard, and that pisses me off. It's literally that easy. Go ahead.
I love the simplistic approach. When I was about 4 or 5 years ago, actually competing more on a regular basis, probably my best shape about 4 or 5 years ago, having to make weight, I'll come clean. I didn't have the books, but because at Extreme Couture, there's a bunch of the fighters would have your books, and we would be able to lend it when you had a
That's
cut
awesome.
coming up.
I really appreciate that.
But just taking the basic principle of the things you were saying, and it sounds like hot words like lifestyle, but it's true, and being able to adjust things that you like and being realistic about it. You're not offering some magic wand stuff. In fact, you're poking holes in many diets and bringing the facts to it.
Yeah.
But it really is simple, and that's when I was doing my best. It was when I felt like I was taking things, whether it was the Greek yogurt, which I never thought I would like the Greek yogurt, and making it taste like ice cream with the honey
So
and
good, right?
and the fruits and all these little tricks and stuff. And I'll tell you that was the best. Just it as simple as that. Trading out things for healthy things, not being this is bread, or this is that, and instead of freaking out about that stuff, just looking at, like you said, earth grown nutrients, eating it its closest form, non-processed form. And man, it really is thanks, man, really, for just sharing the knowledge, kind of setting the bar as you did in the industry now. You see everybody else in the last couple of years what they've been trying to do.
Absolutely. That's we just trying to educate.
Have you thought about a home delivery meal service?
We've thought about it a few times, and we've spoken with some of the largest companies in the country, and what we found, we couldn't get with it because the quality controls. It's so difficult to control food and inventory food, especially when you start shipping across time zones, right? That becomes an issue. And we, based upon our principles, were unable to fully get behind any of the current models. Not because that they were bad people, simply because we can't endorse going out and paying money to purchase a, quote, fresh meal that was, and here's what happens. The food shows up on a Monday. It doesn't get cooked until a Wednesday, and then it gets shipped on a Friday, and it shows up at my house on a Monday. Now that food is going to last me until Thursday or Friday of that week. Well, that was, quote, fresh last 10 days ago, and that's pretty much the norm that we've seen. And again, we've spoken to most of the biggest companies. Some might have found a way to kind of beat that, but it's difficult. And the larger they get, the worse quality control becomes.
What about a Dolce restaurant?
We thought about that too, but it's managing the food side of it. There's a lot of risk on the food side of it. So we thought about it we were ready to throw some money at it. And we said, you know what we do best is we oversee the food, the menu. We're a content company. Our goal is to educate, it is to inspire, and to entertain. We are here to produce content for people that they can then implement. So now we do have our whey protein isolate coming out. We have a few other lateral products and services to what we do as a core business and education company. But at the end of the day, the people have to take responsibility. Now, they can go to a local shop. There's a few great places here in town. The Protein Source, they have 2 locations in Las Vegas. You can get fresh that same day, made to our specifications. Greens and Proteins does a pretty job. Honey Salt and Summerlin has pretty good farm-to-table. Even Sammy's Grill here has decent farm-to-table if you ask the questions. But coming out with a food company, that's just not... And for me, I like the freedom of the life that I have right now. If I got 2 little babies at home, I can wake up when they do, and I can stay home or leave based upon what I'm doing, what they're doing, what their thoughts are. So, and that's kind of important. At a restaurant, it's 7 days a week, 12, 16 hours a day. And I worked in a restaurant coming up as a kid. I get it.
You want to ask your last question?
Yeah. You've talked about how important sleep is.
Yeah.
And on some nights where I know I got to be sharp and I got to get a good night's sleep, sometimes I'll pop a melatonin.
Okay.
All natural.
Yep.
Am I okay there, or am I being an asshole?
Do you wake up? I don't think one predicates the other, so we can talk about you being an asshole after this. That's my question. But how do you feel when you wake up?
Good.
Okay, some people, when they take melatonin, they feel groggy.
Right.
So and it's how do you respond? And I always say, look at the third rule. How do you seem to respond from it? And this is kind of your first-person review of it. Does it make you better or make you worse?
If I don't, sometimes I'll wake up a couple times a night.
Okay.
If I do, I know I'll just sleep through the night.
Okay.
And when I wake up, I feel normal.
So for me, if I were you, the melatonin would help you get over a tough spot that you're having, but I would then want to look at what is the tough spot. Because you should be able to sleep soundly and deeply without any sort of assistance. So naturally, I would take a deeper look in your life. What does that look like? And that's not just your sleep and the time you go to bed, but that's also, what is your nutrition like? And when was the last time we had your blood work done and adequately reviewed? What stress do you have in your life, might you have in your life? What does your training schedule look like? Kind of go into all of that, and I would try and reset your lifestyle to allow you to naturally fall asleep a little earlier and get into a deeper sleep. That would be the ultimate goal, and that's one of the things that we do. So you work with our team, that's what we do. We get that whole lifestyle wrapped around you, so now you don't need anything. I mean, young guy, you shouldn't need a pill to fall asleep. Some of it could just be placebo effect. You might think that's the case, and thereby...
I've had to turn this off, and I hate turning it off.
Okay.
I have to do it.
Okay.
No wonder my fucking texts don't get answered.
That's what
it's that, and who wants to eat round table at midnight? It's like...
half the audience.
All right. Hey, this was great.
Absolutely. Awesome, guys.
Sorry we didn't turn it this way earlier because I got a bunch more, but we'll do it another time
Right on.
soon. Thank you very much for coming by. Thank you for sticking overtime. Thank you for helping us line up the Mirsad Bektic interview.
Of
Are
course.
you going to be in Chicago?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Excited
Maybe
for
I'll
you.
see you.
Come on out, man. Let's see if we can grab a game. That would be cool. You know, if I can, my responsibilities don't, keep me in the hotel. It'd be awesome.
Right on, brother.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Follow him on Twitter at the Dolce Diet. Also, for more information on Mike Dolce, and the Dolce Diet, go to thedolcediet.com. You can learn more about Mike. Everything he has going on, whether it's the books he sells, the gear he has, the podcast he has, I always say he's a motivator, so there's always plenty there in terms of social media where he's up at 4 a.m. I see him lifting and doing his thing. So across all the channels, the Dolce Diet is a great follow. All right, folks, we are out of here. We'll see you tomorrow with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. For Danny and Dan and Goes and Mike, I'm George. Go out there, have a nice day, and be a champion.
Viva Las Vegas with your neon flashing and the one-arm bandit.